My dad made me choose one of the 10 goddesses to marry. This video is purely for entertainment and does not violate copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and the image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 401. Boarding the pirate ship. You're thinking too much. How can I be so powerful? Lin said on the phone. Isn't it you? That's because someone wants you to take the blame. Employee will still come looking for you. John Banksia's voice was a little helpless. You come to my house to hide first. My grandfather will be released in the next few days. No, wait. When your grandfather comes out of seclusion, I will come to see you, Lin said with a smile. Okay then. John Banksia hung up the phone. Anyway, it was just for these few days. Lin put away the phone and prepared to go home for dinner. She returned to the villa. She found that there was another person in the house. It was Zhangwu. Dressed in black casual clothes, she greeted Lin with a smile. Lin nodded slightly and sat on the sofa next. When Zhao King saw Lin coming back, she went to work in the kitchen, warmed up the food and served it. And didn't say anything else. Now he is thinking about W. Zhao. If he is not careful, people like Zhu Ruoying will be in danger. Zhu Ruoying's expression was a little strange. What happened to Lin? I always feel that my reaction today is wrong. During the meal, Lin didn't say a word and returned to his room after eating. Zhangwu also looked at Lin's back in confusion. What's wrong with him today? Don't you welcome me? No, he must be playing deeply deliberately. Zhu Ruoying explained with a smile, but there was something wrong in her heart. She always felt that Lin has something on his mind. Mu Xiaolu thought about the conversation between Lin and Meng Qingshan today. Maybe because of what happened. Lin looked at the ceiling and asked his father to come back to help. With the old man helping the second master, it will definitely not be a problem. Oh, it seems like we can only go to John to complain. Lin sighed lightly. He really didn't want to go in. Favorite of the country. That old fox, the old man, will definitely find ways to do things for himself. At this moment, Lin's door opened. Zhao King walked in timidly, closed the door carefully, and approached Lin. He took the initiative to get into Lin's bed. She lay down next to him with red cheeks and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong with you today?" Lin looked at Zhao King next to her and hugged her with a smile. King is better. You know how to comfort me. My sister asked me to come. She has to accompany Zhangwu today and doesn't have time. Zhao King's voice was as calm as a mosquito's voice. I'm fine, I'm just a little worried, Lin said softly. Zhao King nodded slightly and buried her head in Lin's chest. King, I'd rather exchange things between us than this, Lin said with a smile. Zhao King blushed suddenly, but finally nodded. Lin did not dare to go too far. While he and Zhao King were having fun, Jinggu Jiqiu walked over. Eat tomorrow. Lin opened his eyes suddenly. This feeling was wrong. Wrong model. Definitely not Zhao King. He immediately got out of bed and saw Akana Jingguji in front of him. Boss, be good. Jinggu Jiqiu smiled and touched Lin's head. Her cheeks flushed. Shit. Lin looked to the side and asked, where is King? King saw me coming early in the morning and left. Jinggu Jiqiu hugged Lin. Lin rubbed his head, but he didn't expect to fall into a deep sleep. It seems that because of this incident I am physically and mentally exhausted. Boss, I'm not clean anymore. Akana Jingguji puffed his lips slightly. You have to be responsible for me. What the hell? Lin rolled his eyes and looked at Akana Moji helplessly. Okay, I'll be responsible for you. That's all. Jinggu Jiqiu smiled and rested her head on Lin's arm. Lin decided to complain to Jin, and it seems that he will be busy in the future. Come to the patio. Lin made a call, and after a while, a loud old man's voice came from the other side. Hello? Old man, it's me, Lin said over the phone. Hey. Xiaolin, you haven't called me for several years. The loud voice on the other end was that of a standard old man calling. Even an ordinary person can hear clearly without having to turn on the speaker and have a mobile phone 1 meter away. This time I need help from the old man, Lin said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Say something first. The old man laughed a few times. I am not afraid of offending W. Zhao, but I am afraid that he will threaten the people around me, Lin said about his current affairs. That boy, hey, he's a little difficult, the old man sighed. Old master, think that I owe you a favor and help Wu Jin complete 3 tasks unconditionally. How about that? Lin told him. 3 missions, hey, Duxia is at his peak now, so he's hard to handle. Oh, no. 5 missions are enough, right? Lin rolled his eyes. Deal. This is all a trivial matter. If he dares to threaten you or the people around you, please let me know directly. The old man said with a smile. Okay. Thank you, old man. With his words, Fen Lin was relieved. Haha, I just have a mission here. The old man showed a wicked smile. Fen Lin said helplessly, but since he was on the pirate ship, he could only carry it. Wu Jian's mission and the Secret Legion's mission are not at the same level at all. Once upon a time, Fen Lin joined Wu Jian as a mortuary doctor. He is the youngest and the weakest. Those old men were too lazy and said that they were old and unfit for strenuous exercise. All tasks were left to Fen Lin. Fen Lin almost died several times, but fortunately he had the second master by his side to help him. What mission? Fen Lin asked. We just received news here that the location of the Black Gate in 10 county of the island country has been exposed. The old man there said. It is rumored that the head of the Black Gate has a space ring in his hand. Black Gate. Space ring. Fen Lin's expression became solemn. That's right. Black Gate is an evil organization. Now there are many masters who have trapped Black Gate in the ruins formation. The old man smiled and said, your mission is to get the space ring and give it to me. Old master, this kind of treasure is coveted by so many masters, how come can I get it? Fen Lin said helplessly. I don't care. If you don't follow the old rules and fail once, you will give me 2 tasks, the old man said with a smile. I will clean it up. Did you do it on purpose? Fen Lin rolled his eyes. I think you're capable of doing the job, the old man's voice was solemn. Okay, I'll do my best, Fen Lin said helplessly, and he was indeed deceived. The old man knew that Fen Lin was a man of his word, so he was not afraid of not doing things that he promised. Okay, I will send you the detailed address and plan in a moment, and there will be someone there to help you. After God finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Fen Lin also breathed a sigh of relief. At least he could guarantee the safety of everyone around him. He went towards the diagonal door to find Jin Gujiak. After everything, the island country is their territory, not to mention that this time it is Black Gate. Chapter 402 God will forgive you. Fen Lin arrived at the opposite door and found Jin Gujiak being served by servants for breakfast. Jin Gujiak greeted with a smile. This time I received the mission to go to the island country. Kuroma's letter appeared. Fen Lin sat next to Jin Gujiak. What? Kurama is not cooperating with Jialand. Jin Gujiak immediately stood up and said, that is to say, the masters of Jialand this time will probably come. This is for me. I don't do it. You know, let's get ready after dinner. Today we will go to the island country, Fen Lin said with a smile. Jin Gujiak nodded, speaking of which, I haven't come back for a long time. It's a good time for you to go home and take a look. Yeah. Fen Lin got up and left. Wait here for an hour. Jin Gujiak and the servants were ready and they all took the plane back. Before going, Fen Lin specially explained to Men Changshen. Men Changshen didn't pay much attention to him, there were more people now. Muzhou can definitely become Zhamu's training target. Men Changshen personally took action based on Zhu Ruan's words. As for the King not returning until nightfall, by then the remaining few people will be able to do so. For those who have not become ancient warriors, going beyond their limits in a planned manner is the only way for them. At 10 in the morning everyone boarded the plane. It only takes Yangshi 2 or 3 hours to fly to the island country. After arriving in the island country, they first headed to Kobe County, which was the seat of the Jinguji family. They all took the high-speed train to Kobe. As soon as I left the high-speed train station, I saw that all the Lexuses were parked outside. Several middle-aged men dressed in suits stood in line. Seeing Jinguji come in, he immediately bowed and said, "Hello, President." In the island country, the president is the main person in charge of the team organization. In business terms, the president is equivalent to the president of China. In legal underground organizations, the president is relative to the boss. Boss, get in the car. Jinguji pulled Fen Lin and got into a black car. Everyone behind him also did the same. Jinguji told the driver, "Go home." "Hello?" The driver of this car immediately started the vehicle. After a while, they reached the top of a mountain. Similar to those rich families in China. However, the architecture is completely different. The Chinese are typical Western architecture. The buildings here are similar to ancient Chinese mansions. Of course, it was originally copied from ancient China. On the contrary, island nations are more protective of their traditions. However, in recent years, China has gradually begun to pay attention to it, such as celebrating Hanfa Day, etc. The car went straight up the mountain. There were cherry blossom trees on both sides of the road, and the scenery was beautiful and pleasant. Halfway up the mountain there's a parking lot. When the car stopped here, Jinguji took Fen Lin out of the car and went up the mountain. Jinguji-sama. Going up the mountain, there were many masked people around, greeting Jinguji-ak. Jinguji-ak waved at them and led Fen Lin to the top of the mountain. This is a mansion built of wood. Jinguji and Fen Lin walked in and sat on the wooden steps. Fen Lin sensed the surrounding atmosphere, which was not bad. It can be regarded as a powerful hidden family. There is a person who has penetrated the realm and is sitting here. Boss, there is a hot spring not far away. Do you want to go relax at night? Jinguji said with a smile. No need. Fen Lin rolled his eyes. At that moment, the sound of clogs was heard in the distance. Soon after, an old man stepped on wooden clogs and approached step by step. Wearing the island country's traditional samurai outfit, he bowed respectfully to Jinguji-sama. Boss, let me introduce you, this is my master, Mitari Taro, Jinguji pointed and said to the old man. Fen Lin nodded slightly. This person was a master who had broken through the realm. Hello, Fen Lin greeted with a smile. Then you are Doctor of Death. Mitari Taro lowered his head slightly. You're welcome. Fen Lin waved his hand. Mr. Jinguji, you came back this time because of the Kuroman matter, right? Mitari Taro asked with a smile. Yes, you should have received the news about such a big event a long time ago. What do you think? Jinguji asked. It's not easy to handle. It is rumored that the head of the Black Gate has a space ring in his hand. This is a legendary thing. Mitari Taro shook his head. The people of the Holy See have come here in the name of killing demons. From the Holy See. Human. Fen Lin lay on the wooden board, holding the back of his head with his hands and muttering. Also, there are many masters. My advice is not to get involved. Mitari Taro knew that the ancient warriors of his country could not compete with these masters. The best way is to watch the target fight from a distance. Boss, what do you think? Jinguji looked at Fen Lin. This time I will go as a mortuary doctor. I won't need you for the time being. Fen Lin thought for a moment and said with a smile. Okay, then I will wait there with my people and pick you up at any time. Jinguji nodded. Well, I'll go first. After Fen Lin finished speaking, his figure disappeared here. Fen Lin speaks the island's Mandarin very fluently, and like ordinary people on the island, he took the high-speed train to Ten County. Everything is so natural. Ten County is not far from Kobe County and Fen Lin will reach his destination in about half an hour. There is a mountain here. Fen Lin followed the exact address the old man sent him and prepared to go there and take a look. He first came to a deserted corner and took out a hooded jacket from the space ring. After that, he took out a special mask, put it on, and then put on his hat. Head to the distant peak. From a distance, he could sense many people. And they are all very powerful. As I looked closer, I realized that at least half of the people here were white. Everyone held crosses in their hands as if in silence. In front of this group of people was a white man with short blonde hair, about 40 years old. In the left ear there was a cross earring. He looked round with a smile. Fen Lin shook his head slightly. In fact, he was a member of the Holy See and was so great no matter where he went. They were afraid that others would not know that they were the Holy See. As for the rest of the people, most of them were standing here like Fen Lin in twos and threes. At this moment, a short middle-aged man shouted in island Mandarin, I can't wait any longer. Let's go in. This middle-aged man with earrings stood in front of everyone and spoke in broken Insular Mandarin. He said, I said, no one can come in before we finish praying. Why? This is our country. The short, middle-aged man shouted. Just because we are members of the Holy See, going against us means going against God, the middle-aged man wearing earrings said proudly. The short middle-aged man sneered. Who was your God? Our island country believes in Shintoism. Brothers, come on, brush. As soon as the short middle-aged man finished speaking, 2 straight wounds appeared on his face. Staggered horizontally and vertically, forming a cross. Immediately afterwards, he fell to the ground unwailingly. The middle-aged man crossed himself on his body with an indifferent expression and whispered, God, you'll be forgiven. What state is your God in? At this moment a mature female voice came. Come. Chapter 403 This is a misunderstanding. The woman spoke English but had an East Asian face. She wore a single ponytail and looked to be between 30 and 40 years old. He was wearing a black leather jacket and leather pants, which outlined his plump figure. He exuded an aura of maturity. This face is very pretty, a little cold. However, Fen Lin always felt familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere. But I couldn't remember it. If you slander God, you will go to hell. The middle-aged man's face gradually became serious. I'm curious, what hell will I go to? The woman showed an arrogant smile and walked towards the distant mountain peak. The middle-aged man wearing earrings saw this and immediately stopped the woman. The woman's eyes flashed with blue light and the light instantly filled her body. Call this middle-aged man. When the middle-aged man saw this, his eyes flashed with golden light and the light enveloped his entire body. Boom. The two collided with each other and a strong wind blew around them. The youths who were watching were sent flying. Fen Lin felt the energy emanating from him. This woman turned out to be the pinnacle of penetration. As for this middle-aged man wearing earrings, his strength is only in the early stages of penetration. The two forces collided and the middle-aged man's body flew backwards. Hit a large tree in the distance. Large trees were felled. There was a roar that raised a large amount of dust. When everyone present saw this, they were shocked. I didn't expect this woman to be so powerful. The woman snorted coldly, walked away, and jumped directly into the high cave. Obviously, there's training here too. When other people saw this, they accelerated and followed this woman. While the Vatican expert is still breathing, go in and take a look first. Fen Lin hesitated for a moment and then walked in, first to see what was going on inside. Following everyone's footsteps, Fen Lin entered the cave. It was dark everywhere, extending all the way down. After walking for a minute or two, I was suddenly enlightened. The path became wider and I finally saw a point of light ahead. Fen Lin sped up and finally arrived at these ruins. The scene here is the same as the outside world, with green mountains and green waters. The surprising thing is that right in front of it is a human body. It was almost piled up like a mountain and blood flowed into a river. Obviously, this was done to scare people. This man is the master of our island country, Konoyaro. He is at the peak of his spiritual power. This man is our British John, he is a great killer. I have to say that this shock is still effective. There are many people who are not as strong as these deck people, how dare they go deeper? For this reason, some choose to withdraw. Fen Lin looked around and the woman who had penetrated the peak before was not here. Apparently she was not afraid and had already entered. Fen Lin looked at the green mountains and green waters in the distance and walked deeper. Feeling around carefully, he suddenly found someone fighting in the distance. Fen Lin hid his aura and hid on the hillside. It was the woman fighting in the distance. However, she was surrounded by a dozen of black sect masters. Fen Lin marveled at the woman's skill. This clean and elegant fighting style would definitely allow him to fight all year round. In a short period of time, most of the dozen of black sect masters were killed. At that moment a surprising scene occurred. One of them, near the woman's body, suddenly exploded and turned into black mist. A black mist instantly enveloped this woman. Boom. The woman ran out of the black fog, her cheeks already a little dark. This is goo. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows in surprise. Fortunately, I came here to watch, at least I know what methods they have. However, Fen Lin remembered his holy ash goo and was able to eat the goo. Logically speaking, this kind of poison should have no effect on me. The battle continues. The woman's movements became slower and slower, and she was finally slashed in front of her body. He suddenly attacked the ninja and blackened just as he was about to kill him, the man exploded again. Fen Lin shook his head slightly, the black sect was indeed an evil organization. He was going to help. If this continues, the woman may die. Fen Lin accelerated and ran down the mountain. Before he could rush forward, the woman suddenly attacked Fen Lin. I'm here to help you. Fen Lin instinctively said something in Chinese, which he immediately translated into English and said again. But the woman ignored Fen Lin's words and came to kill him without hesitation. Fen Lin was forced to fight back. Brush. Fen Lin dodged his attack and simply raised his hand, ready to attack. But the woman was faster and predicted Fen Lin's prediction. Fen Lin was extremely surprised. This man was truly powerful. Just as Fen Lin was about to retreat, his body suddenly leaned forward. Fen Lin's hand was right in front of this woman's body. Misunderstanding. Fen Lin looked a little embarrassed. I'll kill you. The woman's face was full of anger, she simply raised her hand and fell uncontrollably. You're speaking Chinese. Were you Chinese? After Fen Lin finished speaking, he took out a dark gold dagger and walked towards the remaining people. His figure flashed and the dagger struck their necks accurately. After that, Fen Lin's body quickly moved out of the way to prevent the explosion from affecting him. After everything was over, Fen Lin immediately retreated to the woman's side, grabbed her arm, and ran deeper into the forest. Fen Lin found a deserted place and left her, letting her lean against a large tree. He grabbed the woman's wrist, felt it, and whispered, "You have been poisoned." "Of course I know how common poison can have an effect on me." The woman pushed Fen Lin's hand away and staggered to leave. "You will die like this," Fen Lin reminded. "We are all Chinese, so we should help each other abroad. You don't need to worry about my affairs." The woman looked at Fen Lin coldly. After taking only a few steps, he fell to the ground. "It's your grandmother's. I'll take care of it today." Fen Lin walked over and took off his leather jacket. In front of him, there was a wound that had turned black. "You're presumptuous," the woman shouted. "Scream again." Fen Lin slapped his butt. "You!" Lin was so angry that she almost vomited blood, but now she was so weak that she felt as if the blood in her body had stopped flowing. Fen Lin took out 5 silver needles from his body and controlled his meridians. This person was too strong and he didn't want her to kill his holy ash crew. After controlling the meridians, Fen Lin raised his fingertips and the holy ash goo floated and entered his body. "Don't move, I'm helping you kill the virus." Fen Lin noticed that the woman had calmed down, so he explained calmly. Lin felt as if there was a flow of heat in his body, rushing through his blood vessels and spreading throughout his body in the blink of an eye. The body also seems to have returned to normal. "I didn't expect that this person was actually detoxifying." Buzz. After Ash's holy goo was devoured, it flew out and reached Fen Lin's fingertips. Brush. Lin felt that her body could move and suddenly attacked Fen Lin. But because the meridians were blocked, Fen Lin caught his backhand. "Grandma, I'm going to teach you a lesson today," Fen Lin said coldly. Chapter 404 An acquaintance who should not appear. Fen Lin hated to repay kindness with hatred, so she grabbed the other person's hands and moved her other hand directly in front of her. It jumped several times before stopping. You rat, I will kill you." Lin's eyes were about to widen as he growled at Fen Lin. "I hate people like you who repay kindness with hate the most. I saved your life and you still attacked me." Fen Lin did not hit him this time, but instead grabbed him tightly. "You!" Lin suddenly broke away, took out a dagger from his pocket, and attacked Fen Lin. Fen Lin dodged it easily, but a few raised hairs were cut off. "It seems that you have recovered." Fen Lin quickly took out the silver needle and ran out. Before leaving, he didn't forget to tease, "Andy, it feels very good. I'll kill you." Just as Lin was about to throw him out, blood flowed in front of him. He looked down and noticed that the black color of the wound had faded and normal blood was coming out. It shows that the poison has indeed been eliminated. When he reacted, he found that Fen Lin had disappeared. She removed a bandage from her body, wrapped it around the wound in front of her, and put on her leather jacket. "Brat, I will definitely kill you." Lin simply walked a few steps and turned, lowered his head and picked up some of Fen Lin's hair from the ground. Holding her hair tightly in her hands, she quickly left. "And come outside." Lin did not notice Fen Lin's figure, she disappeared here in the blink of an eye. The middle-aged man from the Holy See in the distance noticed the injury in front of Lin and shook his head slightly. It was the right decision not to enter. "Let's wait for the big shots from the Holy See to arrive." Lin came to the back of a luxury hotel, stepped on the air conditioning, and reached the top floor in the blink of an eye. "Jump into a suite." All the women were in the luxury suite, 10 in total. Although most of them are older, you can tell by the shape of their faces. When you are young, you must be beautiful. "Sir, are you injured?" An older woman with some wrinkles on her face immediately walked over and helped Lin hold his arm. "Hyman is really crazy." "I was fooled," Lin said coldly. A beautiful young woman next to him took out a box of medicine from the suitcase. The pattern of the medicine box is red peony flower. "By the way, keep these hairs for me." Lin handed the hair in the palm of his hand to a woman. The woman took out a small plastic bag and put her hair in it. "Sir, whose hair is this?" "A brat who offended me. Go back and test his DNA first. When I catch him, I'll have to castrate him." Lin untied his leather jacket. Several young women around him removed his bandages. After applying the medicine to the wound, it was wrapped again. "Sir, there is news from the organization that Miss King you have secretly escaped again." The older woman next to him said helplessly. "This damn girl never lets me worry." Lin sat on the bed angrily. "Ignore her, this mission is important. I am obliged to get the space ring." Fen Lin to Jinnu Temple He learned through the phone that he had booked a room nearby. Then Fen Lin rushed to the spot. Luxury suites in this hotel. There is a huge window in the back, with a clear view of the mountains. That mountain is where the entrance to the ruins is. This location is good. Fen Lin jumped down from the window, looked around, and found that Jinguji Akada was the only one here. She did not bring any other servants. Jinguji Apadu said with a smile, not only that, I also asked people to do something big. What a big deal? Fen Lin asked with a smile. Jinguji Apadu suddenly lowered his head timidly and said timidly, Boss, there is no one here. Damn girl, what bad intentions do you have? Fen Lin rolled his eyes. There are no bad intentions. I will tell you when I get home with my boss. Jinguji Apadu smiled and sat on the sofa. Forget it, Fen Lin waved his hand. Boss. Come on, I'm angry. You kissed me goodnight when I went to bed. Jinguji puffed his lips, you will definitely praise me for this. We're both adults. I'm gone. Fen Lin looked helpless. So what you did to me last night, stop. Fen Lin also blushed. Last night, he mistook Jinguji Apadu for Zhao King. After all, the two of them had done everything and there was no bad blood between them. He walked up to Jinguji Apadu and poked him on the forehead. Is the head office ready now? That's all. Jinguji Apadu took out the tablet from the sofa, opened the video, and played it on the table. Fen Lin looked at him and immediately took the tablet. The image above shows exactly where the entrance is and you can still hear the sounds from there. Apparently, in addition to the cameras, there are also bugs. I had people secretly install pinhole cameras and listening devices, Jinguji Apadu said with a smile. Okay, keep going. Fen Lin was extremely surprised. This way he didn't need to go there and could always observe the situation there. It is also near the entrance. If there's an emergency, Fen Lin can rush there immediately. Jinguji Apadu raised his face and crossed his arms, as if waiting for Fen Lin's praise. Oh, you are my goddess. Fen Lin smiled and sat next to Jinguji Apadu, hugging her waist and said. However, the camera must be turned off at night, Jinguji Apadu explained. I know. Fen Lin nodded. All current cameras have night vision features, but they have infrared lights at night. Ancient warriors could clearly see the points of light at night. This way they know there are cameras watching. You can only turn off the camera at night and use a microphone to listen to surrounding sounds. Jinguji Apadu ordered some meals and ate traditional food here with Fen Lin. Please be aware of the situation there. Very happy. Suddenly, Fen Lin seemed surprised. Through the camera, he saw an acquaintance. Logically speaking, this acquaintance should never appear here. What's wrong, boss? Jinguji Apadu asked while eating sushi. I saw someone I knew. Fen Lin continued to look at him. This person is none other than Zhu Zize, the head of Nanshan International in Yun City. Zhu Yuan's unforgettable friendship. When Zhu Ruan first went to Yun City, she was working with him. Fen Lin and Zhu Yuan even drank together at their house. Zhu Zize once said that he was originally in Jiangnan, but his family was destroyed and he came to Jiabai. With his strength, that is, the transformation realm, why do you dare to come here? Zhu Zize looked around and walked towards the entrance. The middle-aged man of the Holy See approached again and his voice came out. No one is allowed to enter until we finish praying. Zhu Zize did not say a word, he waved his hand and unleashed a gust of wind. The middle-aged man wearing earrings flew out instantly. The trees around swayed and their leaves fell. Without stopping, he walked through the entrance. Chapter 405 Athena. Fen Lin and Jinguji Apadu looked at each other in disbelief. This man is so strong. Fen Lin immediately sent a message to Lanny and asked him to investigate Zhu Zize. If he's a good person, then find a way to bring him down. If he is a bad guy and such a powerful master has been hiding in Yun City, he must have some hidden secret. After telling Lanny, Fen Lin continued to look at the screen. Listen to the conversation around you. Several languages, very confusing. After eating, Fen Lin and Jinguji Apadu sat on the sofa and looked at the screen in front of them. Before I knew it, it was already getting dark. More and more people gathered there. Fen Lin yawned and continued to collapse on the sofa, wanting to take a nap. At the same time, the noisy sound suddenly disappeared. This immediately attracted the attention of Fen Lin and Jinguji Apadu. Only 3 people were seen walking into camera range. One is a black man, he appears to be at least 60 or 70 years old, with a wrinkled face and dressed in a red robe. One is white and appears to be about 40 or 50 years old. He has long, blonde, curly hair and a tattoo of a black cross on the back of his left hand. This middle-aged man wears a red suit. The last one was a young woman with straight blonde hair spreading behind her like a waterfall. She was wearing a white skirt with a red vest and carried a rectangular metal box on her shoulders. On his face he wore a mask with a golden cross. The cross is carved with very complex and beautiful patterns. Cardinal, the troublesome guy is here. Fen Lin sat helplessly and fell onto the sofa. A cardinal is subordinate to the Pope in the Holy See and is a status second only to the Pope. In terms of strength, it is equivalent to Huaxi's Wujian. Is that woman also a bishop? Jinguji Appa looked at the blonde woman wearing the mask on the screen. Her code name is Athena, Fen Lin explained. What? She is the fourth Yangan, Athena. Jinguji Appa was extremely surprised. He had heard Fen Lin say before that Athena was also in the late stage of her divine acuity. A little different from Fen Lin. As they were both young, he often competed with Fen Lin and felt that Fen Lin should not come second. That long-haired middle-aged man is Poseidon, the number one in Jianging. Fen Lin stretched and was ready to take action. The people from the Holy See had been blocking it before, probably because they wanted to wait until they arrived. Then he is Poseidon. Jinguji Appa nodded slightly, having heard of this man's name a long time ago. Fen Lin did not care about this ranking. Of course, the state doesn't care either. But the Holy See is different. They attach great importance to classification. Poseidon was originally a member of the Cardinals, but was later forcibly dragged into that Yangan diagram. Of course, China could let Wuji's master pass. However, in the end it was unanimously agreed to keep a low profile. Keeping a low profile is the true meaning. It is not necessary to compete with him for this ranking. I'll go to. Fen Lin stood up, took out a black coat from the space ring, and put on the Death Doctor's mask. Boss, can I use it? Jinguji Appa stood up and asked. No, this mission is a continuous mission. It is more convenient for me to be alone. Fen Lin opened the window and said with a smile, wait for me here. After saying that, his figure disappeared from the place. It's already getting dark. In front of the cave more and more people gathered. Everyone around looked at the people dressed in red and they were all talking in low voices. Actually, there are 3 cardinals here at the same time. It seems that the Holy See is determined to win this treasure. Look at the woman wearing the mask. I heard that she is the genius of the Holy See, Athena. She is the first of 4 divine generals. Do you see that middle-aged man in a red suit? He is the first divine general. Poseidon. As for the translation of the Yangan diagram, the Chinese translations in Western are different. In the East, where China is located, they call it Yangan too. As for the West where the Holy See is located, it is called the 36 divine generals. They are the representatives of the ancient warriors who protect the world. However, most people are not afraid of light, but rather instinctively fear the dark. In terms of popularity and aura, the Death Doctor is more intimidating. Although both are divine generals, in most people's common perception, Dr. Doom is similar to Hades. He is the god of death without mercy. At the same time, 2 women in black skirts arrived from a distance. They both wore masks with a large peony on their faces. Is peony flower here too? This is the top assassin organization in the world. They are so bold. They dare to appear in front of the Holy See. This organization is very mysterious. No one has seen their background. I really want to join them. What are you thinking? There are so many beauties under the peonies. Why would they accept a man like you? Everyone around them was talking. Duzalin looked around and didn't see the brat he met today. Because he was poisoned before, this young man took advantage of him. Now that he has fully recovered, if he doesn't regain his position, where will his face be from now on? 9 bishops. The middle-aged Vatican with earrings bowed his head towards the old black man. Everyone around him was shocked. It turned out to be a cardinal with numbers. You know, in the huge Holy See, there are only 10 numbered cardinals. This old black man turned out to be the 9th bishop. Thank you, Porto said calmly. He turned to look at the 2 people next to him. Poseidon, Athena, follow me inside. Yeah. The 2 nodded slightly. Porto was about to lead the way when he suddenly stopped and looked back. All eyes were on the 9th bishop. When she saw him turn around, she turned almost instinctively and followed his gaze. On a branch not far away, there was a man in a black coat. When everyone saw his face, their eyes widened. On the white mask is the word, the Death Doctor. My God, Dr. Death, who has been silent for more than 2 years, actually appears here. He is indeed a figure like the god of death. He has such a powerful secret ability. Everyone around him was shocked. If Porto hadn't turned around, none of them would have noticed that a god of death had silently appeared behind them. Fen Lin jumped down from the branch and walked here as if he was taking a leisurely walk. When everyone saw this, they were so scared that they ran out of the way. Athena turned around, looked at Fen Lin who was approaching, and took out the box she was carrying. No. Porto put his hand on the metal box calmly. Athena made a TSK sound and put the metal box back on her back. Fen Lin did not stop and walked towards the Holy See. Dear Second Divine General, I am in Porto. That black old man looked at the approaching Fen Lin and lowered his head slightly. Hello, Senior. Fen Lin also lowered his head. This old man is not simple. Absolutely transcend the realm of penetration and enter the realm of tempering. Are you also here to kill the devil? Porto asked calmly. P.S. Today's Children's Day. Everyone, please be mature. You are not children. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in the world of incredible novels. Chapter 406. The strongest in the world is not an exaggeration. Kill the devil. The corners of Fen Lin's mouth raised, but no one could see this smile behind the mask. The Holy See remains the same. He is obviously interested in the space ring here, but it is only in the name of killing demons. Yes, I like killing demons, Fen Lin replied in standard English. May God's will be with you. Porto smiled and looked at the two people next to him. Let's go, and Fen Lin followed them. Once inside, you can still see piles of corpses. Many of the people who followed them felt disgust and nausea at the sight of these corpses. A small number of them chose to withdraw. But more people decided to dig deeper. The space ring is really too tempting for them. Fen Lin looked at the people around him and decided to hide in the darkness first. He had always cared about Zhu Zize. This mission was originally because the old man wanted to keep him. Fen Lin didn't have much hope at first. Anyway, he showed his face, showing that he was indeed here to carry out a mission. Not long after Fen Lin left, a woman with bursting golden eyes stood in front of Fen Lin. Porto in the distance shook his head helplessly and said to Poseidon next to him, "Let's go in." The corners of Poseidon's mouth raised slightly. He looked in Fen Lin's direction, and then followed him. Dr. Death. The insult you insulted me last time, I will pay double this time. Athena spoke in Chinese, took out the box behind her, and found 2 spears inside. He put the 2 pieces together to form a spear almost 2 meters long. Boom. He stepped on the ground and golden ki spread throughout his body. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows in surprise, and it turned out that she had also entered the penetration realm. No wonder he had regained his position so quickly. Holy radiance. Athena roared, and the tip of her spear shone with dazzling golden light. That kind of light is like ordinary people's eyes illuminated by highlights at night. There was a vast expanse of white in front of me and I couldn't see anything. Oh! Athena's figure reached Fen Lin in the blink of an eye, and the spear in her hand stabbed into Fen Lin's thigh. Call. Fen Lin's right eye flashed with a dark blue light, shining from the right eye of the mask. He usually separates himself from the Doctor of Death. Generally, the identity of the Death Doctor is determined by his right eye, which is the dark blue key. Normal people usually use their left eye. He didn't want people to guess that he was the mortuary doctor, otherwise there would be a lot of unexpected problems. Fen Lin had a mission this time, so there was no need to waste energy on it. Then he suddenly withdrew and fled into the forest. Where to escape? Athena shouted and followed Fen Lin closely. Fen Lin sensed the aura fluctuations around him and quickly ran to a building in Hyman. There are many people here getting ready. When they saw Fen Lin enter, they shouted loudly, "Baka! Xini!" Everyone around him took up arms. Brush. Fen Lin's body turned into a ball of blue light and disappeared from the window. At that moment, Athena ran in. When everyone present saw this, they all attacked Athena. Athena originally wanted to catch up with them, but these people crowded in and she could only fight. Fen Lin looked at Kijin punching behind him and shook his head with a smile. He continued deeper and stood on a large tree, sensing his surroundings. There are already many people here, starting to fight. The shaking on the ground did not stop. Fen Lin looked at the mountain in the distance. There was a dark palace on the top. I think a lot of people head there. Fen Lin is naturally the same. When he got here, he found that Porto had already entered. But Poseidon wasn't there, he seemed to have entered first. Fen Lin entered the Black Palace and his body stepped out instinctively. This strong feeling of disobedience was the same as before in the desert. Maybe this is also training. However, the formation was too mysterious and Fen Lin did not know how to deal with it. After a little hesitation, Fen Lin decided to hide here. But there are masters here, especially Zhu Zize. So Fen Lin used the safest method and placed the pinhole camera on the tree branch in front of this palace. As for the listening device, it was placed in the garden next to the palace. The space ring is more convenient. Fen Lin left here with a smile and stayed away from the area, watching through his mobile phone and listening with headphones. From such a distance, no one could detect it. Fen Lin had no intention of completing this task. What's more, he already has a space ring. Not long after he had, the 2 women headed inside the palace. I just heard that they are the people under the peony flower. Fen Lin looked at the 2 people on the screen and remembered the 2 King Yules from this organization. This can be considered one of ours. If possible, Lin plans to rescue them first. Shortly after, Athena ran into the palace with a spear in her hand. Lin simply lay down on the top of the tree without fighting or holding on. During this period, some people ran in, but no one came out. Strange, it's been more than 10 minutes, why is there no movement inside? Lin observed the building through the camera. There appeared to be no signs of a fight inside. At this moment, 2 people approached from the side. Lin's eyes narrowed. Zhu Zize. With him was a short old man. Lin was grateful for his decision. If he hid nearby, Zhu Zize would probably discover him. Sir, thank you for personally coming to the rescue this time. The old man lowered his head respectfully. Aren't people from Jianland coming? Zhu Zize asked calmly. Lin's eyes gradually narrowed. No, maybe they have guessed that I am cooperating with them, just undercover. The old man said in a deep voice. A group of foxes. Zhu Zize stood with his hands behind his hands and said calmly, I'll leave the rest to you. We will prepare to evacuate in the next few days. Hey, sir, I really can. I can't stand watching the training here. It can make people unable to. It is no exaggeration to say that the formation of Ki uses is the strongest in the world. As the old man spoke, a group of black robed ninjas trotted over from a distance. In their hands they turned out to be all modern weapons. Firearms, grenades, everything. Lin finally understood that the internal formation made it impossible for people to use Ki. This is too scary. If you can't use Ki, you are an ordinary person. Although it is above the divine orifice realm, dynamic vision can take bullets. But it is useless to see it with your eyes, it requires body coordination to avoid it. Without Ki, the body cannot keep up with the movements and in the end, you will end up being hit. Only masters who have tempered their realm can. This time the Holy See sent the tempering kingdom. What happens next time? You can take care of yourself. After Zhu Zize finished speaking, he turned and left. Sir, I will definitely listen to you and send you away. Before leaving, the old man looked at everyone present and said, go ahead and kill the men. Women only attack the limbs for the enjoyment of the servants. Chapter 407a. Choice. Thank you, Mr. Inoue. After hearing this, everyone present walked towards the palace. Lin hesitated here for a long time, feeling that the space ring was even more important. The best way is to kill the opponent outside. Lin put away his phone and left here. Not far away he found the body of a ninja. He was covered in black clothing and had his head covered, with only his eyes exposed. Lin immediately put his belongings into the space ring and changed into his ninja uniform. Only his eyes are exposed. To be more realistic, he deliberately smeared blood on the corners of his eyes. After that, Lin ran towards the palace gate. After waiting here for a long time, Lin saw the old man before coming. Why don't you come in? Inoue almost said in Islander Mandarin. Master Inoue, I just killed 3 people and my head is a little dizzy, Lin pointed out. This name was what he heard from the Itzek just now. Inoue saw the blood in Lin's eyes and nodded slightly. You're a good boy. I will let you choose the second woman after I finish choosing the woman. Thank you, Inoue-sama. Lin did not. Don't expect this man to also have a lot of knowledge. It is basically impossible to capture him alive and interrogate Zhu Zize is. The only way to deal with him is to deal with John 2 in the same way as before. Take the assassination and sneak attack method as an example. Lin followed this man and as he moved his arm, he noticed that there was a white ring on it. It seems that we are about to enter the palace, but we must know that Ki cannot be used inside. Lin didn't have much time. Brush. The black scalpel cut his neck. Lin has professional knowledge of sneak attacks. He could kill such an unsuspecting person with a single blow. This is the fact. Before Inoue-sama knew what was happening, his head moved. Grandpa, I've been very lucky lately. It's very easy to get the ring. Lin immediately took off the ring. After careful study, it turned out to be a space ring. But the autonomy is unfortunately small, only 1 cubic meter. It is about the same size as Yan Yabai's ring. There are so many things inside that almost all of them are full. Lin didn't have time to watch now, he used his own poison to decompose the opponent's body. He stood there and thought. It stands to reason that this mission has been completed. However, peony flower was one of theirs, so Lin decided to go in and take a look. Before entering, he first took out the space ring weapon. If Ki cannot be used, the space ring cannot be opened. Inside this black palace, there were no windows and everything was pitch black. However, as he went deeper, Lin felt a wave of heat. And there may also be a clicking sound. Lin reached the end of the palace and finally understood what was going on here. This mountain is an active volcano. Lava can also be seen below. Fen Lin was standing on the edge at this moment, with a magma in front of him and the other side about 30 meters away. Anyone who can enter here is a master. You can jump a distance of 30 meters backwards. But on the opposite side, it should be impossible to use ki. You can jump, but you can't jump and can only get caught in the opponent's trap. Fen Lin looked at the cylindrical building on the other side. The cylinder is surrounded by magma. There seems to be an altar on top of this building without any shelter. They are completely suspicious now. These black-robed ninjas stood on Fen Lin's side and shot towards there. Those teachers can only suffer. Haha. Interesting, this person should be in the realm of temper. Not far away, a man took out a grenade and threw it at Porto's side. He was currently blocking Athena, blocking bullets like a man. Boom. Porto suffered burns over most of his body. Poseidon holds 2 corpses in his hands that serve as shields. As for the 2 people under the peony flowers, one of them was fallen at this moment. The woman lay on top of the other woman and took the bullet. The other woman screamed frantically, but the other woman was already dead. Except for a few of them, the rest of the people were beaten into sips. Fen Lin looked at all of this with an expressionless face. This type of treasure originally carried great risks. If you dare to enter, you must be aware of death. 9 bishops. Athena found that Porto's body suddenly became weak. She knelt on the ground, hugged him, and screamed. "Hide behind me," Porto said coldly. Seeing this scene, Fen Lin was also a little surprised. The Hidden Legion and the Holy See are friends on the surface, but enemies in secret. When Fen Lin saw this scene, he still admired him. He took out his gun and prepared to kill these people. But at this moment, something happened that was beyond Fen Lin's expectations. Zeus Ize is back. And it was incredibly fast, almost in the blink of an eye. It appeared next to Fen Lin. "Where is Isamuno?" Zeus Ize asked sharply. "I don't know." Fen Lin lowered his head and said. The few attackers who were there noticed Zeus Ize approaching. They all put away their weapons and trotted over. Fen Lin kept his head down, fearing that the other party would become suspicious. You're obviously at the penetration realm. Why are you wearing genin clothes?" Zeus Ize suddenly pointed at Fen Lin. Oops. Fen Lin's expression changed. Just as he was about to escape, Zeus Ize stood in front of Fen Lin. There was no escape. Fen Lin's mind was racing and he backed away towards the altar on the other side. Sure enough, as soon as he landed here, Ki was sealed. It feels as if the meridian seemed to be blocked by some force. Zeus Ize saw Fen Lin fleeing to the other side and didn't care. Anyway, no matter who you are there, you can't escape death. Inform Isamuno immediately. I received news that the people of Giantland will come to rescue him and let him act according to the plan. I am leaving. After Zeus Ize finished speaking, he left here. Fen Lin was so angry that he scolded his mother. "Your grandmother, I can't get over it now." Those ninjas received the news and immediately went to find Isamuno. Everyone at the altar was finally able to take a breath. "Are you okay?" Poseidon looked at Porto, who was covered in blood, and asked in a deep voice. "Okay, I'll lie down for a while." Porto closed his eyes and tried to stabilize his breathing. Duzilin, on the other hand, put the person next to him on the ground. He only had a few bullet scratches on his arm, nothing serious. At that moment, he took off his mask and wiped the tears from his face. Fen Lin's expression suddenly changed. It turned out to be the old lady he was harassing. He immediately sat on the ground to prevent the other party from finding him. After everyone was sure that everything was fine for the moment, everyone looked at Fen Lin. Especially Duzilin and Athena, looking at Fen Lin's figure, they always felt a little familiar. "Are you the Doctor of Death?" Athena pointed at Fen Lin fiercely. "Are you that brat?" Duzilin also pointed at Fen Lin and asked. Fen Lin secretly thought that something was wrong and here he needed to make a decision. Once, Fen Lin took off Athena's pants and drew a pig's head on her butt. In comparison, Duzilin only had a slight advantage. What's more, Athena has helpers. Then Fen Lin made up his mind. "This is the first time someone has called me a mortuary doctor. It's a great honor." With that voice, "You really are the brat." Duzilin gritted her teeth and rushed towards Fen Lin. "Old lady, we can't use ki here. My face is swollen from your pain." Fen Lin tried to be more relaxed. Due to his identity as Doctor of Death, he is a cold character. Chapter 408 Death is coming. Athena felt more and more that this man was a mortuary doctor, but she listened to Fen Lin's words. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. In his opinion, Dr. Doom did not like to say unnecessary words and was a very cold person. Brush. Fen Lin and Duzilin's bodies collided. Now the key cannot be used, the battle between the two returns to the most primitive instinct. However, Duzilin knew her own weakness. As a woman, her strength was her weakness when facing men. It should not be caught. But she didn't expect that the fighting skills she was so proud of couldn't even touch Fen Lin. Suddenly, Duzilin detected a flaw. Boom. Duzilin dodged Fen Lin's attack with a single punch and hit Fen Lin in the face. Fen Lin smiled and grabbed Duzilin's arms with both hands. Duzilin secretly thought something was wrong. Fen Lin did it on purpose. He jumped up with extraordinary flexibility and held Fen Lin's neck between his legs. Jiu-jitsu. Fen Lin couldn't help but smile. He had to say that this woman was indeed a murderer. Whether it's strength, speed, or reaction, they are all top-notch. But in the actual battle here, there are no rules on the field. Aren't you using your legs to choke your throat? Fen Lin grabbed her skirt with both hands and began to tear it. Bullet. Fen Lin opened the black skirt, revealing black stockings underneath. Fen Lin grabbed his pants again and pulled them down. You. Looking for death. Duzilin's eyes panicked and she quickly retreated. But how could Fen Lin let her go? His hands were still holding his pants. Duzilin couldn't run away at all. Old lady, move. Fen Lin quickly stepped forward, blocked Duzilin's neck with his arms, threw her hard, and pushed her to the ground. It's over. Fen Lin quickly sat on her, holding her wrists with both hands and looking at her. Let me go. You bastard. Duzilin fought hard, but his strength was no match for Fen Lin and could only be controlled. The old lady with such a bad temper must be a leftover old lady, right? Fen Lin smiled slightly and said, I see that you have a pretty good figure. If you become my servant, I will love you very much. You're so presumptuous. Duzilin roared madly and struggled with all her strength. Fen Lin didn't expect her to be so crazy. Seeing that she couldn't hold back, he immediately lowered his head and put it in front of her. He controlled Duzilin. Again. But she didn't forget to stare. Is this fake? Stop. At Fen Lin, he looked at Fen Lin and said in standard Chinese, let her go, it's wrong of you. Bella, if I tell you what happened between the two of us, you won't do it. That's all. Fen Lin raised his head and told Athena what happened between the two of them here. This person is completely repaying his kindness with enmity. Who asked you to save me? You're the one who was meddling in other people's affairs. Duzilin yelled at Fen Lin. Look, now you think I'm not too much. Fen Lin looked at Athena. Athena was speechless, not knowing what to say. Not only that, when I came in this time, my original intention was to save her, because I am friends with someone under the peony flower, Fen Lin continued. You fart. How could we noble peony flowers need a brat like you? Duzilin looked at Fen Lin coldly. It's okay to tell you that I have an engagement with someone under your peony flower, but already I broke off the engagement, Fen Lin said lightly. An engagement. This is even more impossible. Our organization has a clear rule that if you have an engagement or fall in love, you will unconditionally withdraw from the organization. Duzilin looked at Fen Lin. Suddenly, her expression changed. Could it be, the engagement is broken anyway, so it doesn't matter if I tell you its name. His name is Du Qingyu, Fen Lin said calmly. What? You? Duzilin was so shocked that she couldn't speak, it must be a lie. It definitely is. To verify, Duzilin continued to ask, what is your name? My name is Fen Lin. This. Duzilin was stunned. This brat turned out to be her daughter's fiancé. But he did this to himself. Fen Lin found that Duzilin's face turned pale and thought she was scared. After all, Duzilin Qingyu is the daughter of the boss. This woman is so strong that she should be a master similar to the elders of the sect. But even so, her status is definitely not as good as Du Qingyu. Elder, here I have the number of Du Qingyu's phone, Fen Lin continued. Let me go. Since you are one of us, I will let you go. Duzilin felt her heartbeat speed up and her blood increase. This man turned out to be Fen Chen's son. She seemed nervous and didn't know what expression to use to face all this. Hey. I'll let you go. Fen Lin let go of Duzilin, stood up and dusted herself off. After Duzilin got up, she felt a little unstable, so she immediately put on her mask. She really has no face to see nobody. What? Are you afraid also you? Let me tell you, I already remember what you are like. Fen Lin spread his hands to scare her. I still know your boss. Believe it or not, I'll call you and ask him to fire you. Would you be my girl? Brat. You're dreaming. Duzilin pointed at Fen Lin and shouted. Of course, Fen Lin knew that this was impossible. If it were an ordinary murderer, the other party would probably do it. His strength is so strong that unless his boss is stupid, he would give away such a master. But Fen Lin continued to speak. Then wait, it turns out that I like mature women. Lin was so angry that she hadn't been so angry for a long time. Now this matter puts her in a dilemma. If Fen Lin was told his identity, he would definitely not dare to be so presumptuous. But where should I put my old face? If this insult came to light, she might kill herself in shame. But if you don't tell him, this guy will keep talking. After struggling for a long time, Lin decided not to tell him. Because they are trapped here, if those people return soon, death will be waiting for them. You're going to die, why bother with so much? Fen Lin noticed that Lin had stopped speaking and also began to study this formation. He quickly walked through all the floors and found that he could not use ki. I felt as if my spiritual veins were blocked. We have visited every corner before and there's nowhere where ki can be used. Athena looked at Fen Lin and said. Fen Lin did not respond. He took out the silver needle and pricked several acupuncture points on his body. Sure enough, after being stimulated, he could clearly feel that the meridians under his legs seemed to be completely sealed. The higher up, the easier it will be to seal the meridians. Fen Lin looked up into the heights and carefully remembered that when he fell here just now, he seemed to be able to use ki in the air. At this moment, everyone heard the sound from the other side, and the group of people returned. Everyone's expressions changed and were filled with negative emotions. Because his death is approaching. Chapter 409 She has no father. Fen Lin decided to test his guess. He leapt hard and jumped more than 2 meters vertically. Although they cannot use ki, their physique is still unmatched by ordinary people. When his body reached a height of 2 meters, Fen Lin unexpectedly discovered that his head area had energy for a moment. Sure enough, my guess was verified. You can use ki in high places. You stupid. Lin looked at Fen Lin and said coldly. He doesn't hate Fen Lin now. She's going to die anyway, so why bother? What's more, his father is his savior. Fen Lin simply glanced at Lin lightly. Simply touching the head is not enough to perform a divine counterattack. Therefore, you must jump at least 3 or 4 meters by yourself. Regarding this matter, the first shot of the 7 deadly needles can do it. How strange, where is our boss? Didn't he escape first? It's very possible. Several ninjas there were talking about it. After something like this happened, it was understandable that the boss would run away. A man in black said with a trembling voice. Then what are we waiting for? Let's escape too. Of course we have to escape, but aren't you greedy for the 2 pretty girls over there? Yes. The one who wears the mask, her name is Athena, she is a genius in the Holy See. I often fantasize about sleeping with her. That's it, the man will be killed, the woman will break her limbs with a gun, and we will have fun for a few hours before leaving. After hearing this, several people at the altar had ugly expressions on their faces. Compared to Porto and Poseidon, who were killed directly, Athena and Lin looked paler. They will die anyway and should not be contaminated by the person. Several people approached the edge again and took their weapons off their backs. Bang bang bang, and at this moment, Fen Lin suddenly took out his weapon and attacked them. Empty the bullets inside at once. Be careful. The protagonist in black immediately dodged. Still, 3 people fell. They are all right between the eyebrows. There are only 4 people left here and their strength is at the lowest level of Jin. Unless it's a sneak attack, you won't be able to kill them at all. Lin was extremely surprised. She didn't expect Fen Lin to have weapons on her. That is equivalent to the fact that the ki altar cannot be used here and he is invincible. When I went to look for trouble with him just now, he didn't intimidate me with weapons. Sure enough, as he said, it was for King Yu's sake. But what's the use? The ninja on the opposite side can use ki. Even if you have weapons, you can't do anything to them. Baka. You are looking for death. Several ninjas on the opposite side took out grenades and threw them towards Fen Lin. Brat, do you dare to jump into the lava with me? Lin asked with a smile. Either way, she would die and those disgusting people would never touch her. She came into this world cleanly and must leave cleanly. Unconsciously, he remembered the past. At that time, she was still an assassin trained by an evil organization. When he was about to die, he was rescued by Fenken. She was seriously injured and thought she would not survive. But after half a month of careful care, Fenken healed his injury. Fenken was 30 years old and had just turned 18. In keeping with her character of daring to love and hate, she directly confessed her love to Fenchen. She said that if he accepted, she could be his wife. But Fenken refused without hesitation and said that he already had a wife and a son. He also said that he could let her be his son's child bride. Of course, Lin disagreed and scolded Fenchen. Originally, she was ready to leave, but she told Fenchen by mistake. She was just joking. In fact, she is also married and has a daughter. Feng was excited at the time and said that the two families could become in-laws. He said that his son, who was honest and kind, may not be able to find a wife when he grows up, so he had to plan ahead. Dizzelin agreed. But where does she have a man? So I went abroad specifically to do in vitro fertilization. Thus Du Qingyu was born. She doesn't have a father. Apart from Dizzelin, no one else knows this secret. That doctor has been murdered by her. She had told Du Qingyu since she was a child that her father died of illness. In the blink of an eye more than 20 years have passed. Dizzelin said heavily. Du Qingyu had grown up. He had killed so many people and was lucky to live to be 40. Lin. You should feel lucky that I'm jumping into the laundry with you. Dizzelin took off his mask and walked towards Lin. But your grandmother. Old lady, I want you to be my servant. Lin immediately stabbed 2 silver needles under her eyes. 7 fatal injections, 2 at a time. Brush. Lin suddenly jumped up and his body exceeded its limit. This time the height exceeded 4 meters. Everyone present looked at Lin and wondered what he was going to do. Buzz. Lin, who was in a high place, was suddenly surrounded by dark red ki and turned into a burning man. This burning man floats high. Impossible. How can you use ki? Dizzelin's pupils suddenly shrank. Not only her, Porto and Poseidon looked with white eyes. Ki's display is already shocking. The key point is how can this person fly in the air? Only Athena's eyes narrowed slightly, and she immediately turned and looked the other way. Swish, brush, brush. A black shadow flashed behind several people there, and all of these ninjas fell down. At this time, the remaining people discovered that Lin had fled to the other side. The burning men above him gradually faded away. You're the Doctor of Death. Athena pointed at Lin and shouted, because she had seen this trick before. It was because of this trick that he used silver needles to seal his meridians and his bands were removed. Come to think of it, this guy also carries a silver needle with him. If not the Doctor of Death, who else could it be? Beauty, I am not, I haven't done it, don't talk nonsense. Lin smiled and spread his hands. You are. Do you dare to swear by God? If you are the Doctor of Death, you will kill your entire family. Athena said fiercely. Mother. You stinky bitch, I will kill you. Lin picked up the spear from the ground and pointed it at Athena. Lord Second Divine General. No. Porto hurriedly stood up from the ground, his face pleading. Don't worry, Mr. Death Doctor won't do anything to Athena. Poseidon looked at Porto with a smile. You're right. Why should I kill her if I have nothing to do? I just won't save her, and of course I won't save you. Lin smiled and spread his hands. I just took my elder away. Dizzelin looked very ugly. He's got playing tricks on you. She decided to die. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a bright future. Damn, your name is Lin, right? I admit that I provoked you, but they too didn't. Athena pointed at Lin and said, what kind of hero are you trying to make things difficult for them? What nonsense. I do not do it. It's because of you that I saved them, Lin shouted coldly, unless you apologize and call me Grandpa a few times. Chapter 410 Falling in Love with an Old Woman. Grandpa. I was wrong. Athena immediately apologized to Lin without hesitation. He didn't want to put the other two in crisis because of him. Have you ever apologized like that? You didn't even take off your mask. Lin pursed his lips. Athena walked to the edge of the altar and took off her mask, revealing her very pure cheeks, a standard oval face. Blue eyes, like gems. But it's okay. Athena's cheeks were slightly red and she quickly put them back on. Lin didn't know why, but as long as she took off her mask, she would become a very shy girl. That was the case back then. When the mask was removed, he did not dare to resist and continued to cry. Wait, I'll bring the tools. Lin left here after saying that. When I arrived outside the palace, I found that the sky had completely darkened. It was too troublesome to go out to find the road now, so Lin saw the big tree next to him. As long as they're in a high place and can use ki, they will naturally get closer. On the altar inside the palace, the remaining 4 living people looked left and right. Did he run away? Athena said coldly. Dizzelin said calmly, as this man rescued the unknown peony Hylaxia for Du Qingyu. How can you not keep your words? Sister, how about we work together to teach him a lesson when we go out? Athena asked in a low voice when she realized that Lin had not returned yet. Is your real name Athena? Of course, Dizzelin wanted to teach Lin a lesson, but she could only hit her herself, and how could anyone else get her turn? So she neither refused nor agreed, and abruptly changed the subject. It wasn't, but it is now, Athena replied. In our holy see, those who have absolute talent and have been blessed by God will change their name to the same name of God and become successors. Porto stood up and explained. I see. As soon as Duzulin finished speaking, he heard footsteps coming from the palace. Not long after, Fen Lin appeared here, carrying a straight tree on his shoulders. Large trees have been felled by forest closures, leaving only trunks 3 meters high. He quickened his pace and jumped towards the altar. Bring this big tree here. Here strong logs were placed in an upright position. Fen Lin, why did you get the big tree? Duzulin asked in confusion. Stop talking nonsense and get up. Fen Lin folded his hands, palms facing up, and asked Duzulin to step on them. Duzulin nodded slightly and stepped on the hand of Fen Lin, who jumped up easily and carefully squatted on him. Get up, Fen Lin reminded. All right. Duzulin is a murderer after all. He has been fighting all year, has good coordination and can stand up easily. The next moment, he exclaimed, I see, you can use ki in high places. Hearing this, all the remaining people looked at Fen Lin. No wonder he jumped up. It turned out that he had discovered a heresy. Now that he could use ki, Duzulin, who had penetrated the Pete Master, could easily jump to the opposite side. Ninth Bishop, you go up first. Athena looked at the old black man, whose body was covered in wounds. With the combined efforts of several people, he finally stood on the log. Sensing that ki could be used, his energy suddenly recovered. With a slight jump, he jumped to the opposite side. After returning to the opposite side, his body shone with dazzling golden light. All the bullets on his body melted and finally evaporated. Uncle, you go first. Athena looked at Poseidon. Poseidon nodded, jumped slightly, and stepped on the log. Sure enough, I felt ki returning. He stubbed his toes and jumped to the opposite side. You go first. Athena looked at Fen Lin. Let me go first. Did you push the wood on purpose when it was about to jump and make me fall into the lava? Fen Lin sneered and pushed Athena's shoulder. You first. You first. Athena was wearing a skirt. If it was in a high place, wouldn't Fen Lin see it? He wasn't wearing tight pants underneath. You have a fight with your grandfather, right? Fen Lin grabbed Athena's shoulders. Let's push the wooden 5 here for hundreds of rounds. You're not allowed to watch. Athena knew that it was here. Fighting Fen Lin will not give you anything at all. She could only obey Fen Lin's words and go up. Fen Lin didn't really pay attention before, but after his reminder, he couldn't help but raise his head. Fuck. Fen Lin was surprised. Were there cross patterns on your pants? You bastard. Athena hurriedly covered her skirt and jumped to the other side with all her strength. Fen Lin was the only one left here. He also climbed to the top of the log and easily jumped to the other side. Thank you, Mr. Death Doctor, I owe you a favor. Poseidon smiled at Fen Lin and handed him his hand. You're welcome, I'm just afraid that some of you will retaliate for your kindness. When Fen Lin spoke, he looked at Athena next to him. Originally, Athena was really planning to teach Fen Lin a lesson, but after what she said, it became difficult to do so. I will inform the Pope sincerely, but I still have to thank you, sir. Porto bowed to Fen Lin. You're welcome. Fen Lin shook his head. The 3 people left, what they heard from those ninjas before. The boss here has probably escaped. They are only for the space ring. The boss is gone and there's no need for them to stay here. Fen Lin was also ready to retreat. Old lady, I'm leaving brush. Duzulin jumped to the opposite altar and used ki to kill a dead man she arranged, leaving only a small bone at the end. Although she was used to seeing death, she felt extremely uncomfortable whenever someone around her died. Sometimes you also want to wash your hands in a golden basin. But they made too many enemies. It is very difficult to be silent. Duzulin put the small bones in his pocket and jumped again. Fen Lin simply looked at her and walked out without saying anything else. This mission has been completed. If Zeus Ize hadn't suddenly appeared, the matter would have ended a long time ago. He put his hands in his pants pockets and walked out. I didn't expect you to be a mortuary doctor. Duzulin followed Fen Lin and asked calmly, why did you break off the engagement and look down on Dukingu? Humans are tangled animals. The reason why I rejected her is very simple. I like gentle women. In the future, we will find a paradise and live a normal life, and she is a murderer. Fen Lin shook his head slightly. Obviously wanted to find a gentle woman. Zurwan became an exception. Then why are you confused? Duzulin continued to ask. Fen Lin stopped and did not want to tell him his true thoughts. He said calmly, I'm confused because I obviously don't like murderers, but I like you, an old lady. What the hell? Duzulin didn't know why. His breathing was rapid and his heart was about to jump. She suddenly burst into strength and was ready to defeat Fen Lin. Fen Lin immediately slipped away. He had no intention of playing with this old woman. Fen Lin's figure disappeared without a trace. Looking at the disappearing figure, Duzulin covered his heart. What's going on here? He hit his head hard. Could it be? He didn't even dare to think about it. P.S. For more updates today and one more update at night. Chapter 411. This idea is dangerous. Duzulin returned to his suite and took out a small piece of bone. When the rest of the people saw this, they shed tears of sadness. She died to save me. Duzulin took a deep breath and looked at the remaining people. Let's go back. I'll announce something when we get back. Of course, I can inform you in advance now. Duzulin Su's throat moved, and he paused for a long time before saying, I have decided to disband this murderous organization. Sir. Do you want to scare us away? No, sir. I have no father or mother. You rescued me, leave me. Come on, where can I go? All the people around him disagreed. You misunderstood. I didn't say we should separate under the peony flower. It's just that from now on, we won't be murderers. Duzulin sat on the side and smiled. I'm ready to transform. Sir, what are we doing? Do you do business? A young girl asked. You can do business. My plan is to become a hidden family. Although we still have to fight for the treasures, the risk of death is much lower. Duzulin looked at the people around him. I won't stop them. Don't fall in love in the future. If you find a man you like, just marry him. What's wrong with you? An older woman with some wrinkles on her face walked over and asked. It's nothing. This time I narrowly escaped death and found out. Duzulin looked at the older woman, and Zhang, you are not young anymore. There are so many strong old men chasing you, choose the one you like the most and marry her. What are you talking nonsense about? If you want me to get married, you must first find a husband. I think Miss King you will also be very happy, and Zhang said with a smile. Will she be happy? Duzulin smiled bitterly. How could a mother not know Du King Yu's little thoughts? In fact, she also has a good impression of Fen Lin. If you look for it yourself and know. Duzulin suddenly slapped himself hard. Sir. What are you doing? Sir. It's okay, I'm just a little tired. Duzulin smiled and waved her hands. She had subconsciously thought that her target was Fen Lin. This idea is too dangerous. She must bury it deep in her heart, and for King Yu's sake, she will never show it in this life. Isn't it just a lifelong loneliness? She had made preparations many years ago. Fen Lin returned to Zhenguji Qiuhua's side. Shen Company's Qiuhua was lying on a sofa looking at her mobile phone. When she noticed that Fen Lin had returned, she immediately straightened up. Boss, how are you doing? Fen Lin took out the white ring from his body and took out everything inside. In addition to some clothes, there are also many natural and earthly treasures. These things practically make up the majority. Suddenly, he found a notebook with black animal skin in it. Outside. He picked it up and opened it. His expression suddenly changed. I found something good. Boss, what is this? Zhenguji Qiuhua put his arms around Fen Lin's neck, pressed against Fen Lin's face, and looked at the notebook. The above records are all written in the island country. If you look closely, it is the 9 Netherlands. These include where evil spirits tend to frequent, what they like, and what secrets they have. This should be a sharp weapon to solve the problem of Jiaworth. Fen Lin placed the space ring and prepared to take the time to study it carefully. If it had happened before, Fen Lin would definitely throw this notebook at Liu Yunan. Except for Liu Yunan, the other members of Dead Knight hated seeing this kind of thing. But now he can only digest it himself. Fen Lin evaporated his clothes with qi. These treasures of heaven and earth were all good things, and he would definitely keep them as his own. As for the ring, he was willing to give it to her. The two returned to Zhenguji Ox house during the night. Fen Lin had a good night's rest here. He left alone the next day. Now that Zhenguji Qiuhua is here, Fen Lin asked him to stay here for a few more days. Do some research on his family. After all, they haven't been back in a long time. Of course, Fen Lin sounds good, but he actually has selfish motives. Zhenguji Qiuhua is here, and he can bravely relax when he returns. Taking a plane, Fen Lin returned to Yin City. After returning, Fen Lin went to see the second master first. Seeing Jacques here again, he became more and more arrogant. At first, I was just watching from a distance. He was now close to Men Changshen, stepping aside to observe the chessboard. Fen Lin, you're back, Mu Zhaohu greeted Fen Lin with a smile. Okay, almost, Fen Lin observed to Mu Zhaohu. He was only one chance away from successfully entering the realm of ancient warriors. As expected of the second master, he has his own tricks. Zhaomu was also training here, but it is the simplest physical training. Nephew Fen Lin, you're back. Zhao walked over with a smile and put his arm around Fen Lin's shoulders. Yes, Fen Lin nodded. Zhu Ruang and Zhao King were not here, so Fen Lin felt that he should complete this task first. He wanted to separate from the old man as soon as possible. So I called the old man's phone number. Shaolin, how is the mission going? It's completed. Where are you now? I'll give you something, Fen Lin said into the phone. What? Did you really finish it? The old man's voice was full of surprise. It's just good luck, Fen Lin said casually. It seems that there has been a lot of progress in the past 2 years, the old man sighed. Boy, make a deal. What deal? Fen Lin asked. I believe you know the importance of the space ring. I will give it to you and promise myself 5 more tasks. The old man smiled and said, it's worth it, right? This is a legendary treasure. If Fen Lin doesn't have a space ring, he will definitely agree. This kind of thing is indeed a legendary treasure. But now that he has it, he naturally doesn't need it. As for people like Zhu Ruang, they are not needed at the moment. Their strength is not enough to possess such a treasure. If they are seen by experts, they almost always give them to other people. Kid, you should still have it in your hand, right? Old man with a deep voice. No, I just think it's unfair. It's just a task at most, Fen Lin negotiated with the other party. This kind of treasure should not be too much. You have a good idea, so forget it. The old man laughed and scolded him. I happen to be in Wujian right now. You can call a helicopter and I'll be waiting for you in a few hours. Okay. Fen Lin immediately called the secret army and sent them over. The location is marked in the courtyard of Zhu Ruang's villa. After that, he went to Zhu Ruang's villa to wait. Within a few minutes, Zhu Ruang's cell phone rang. Fen Lin took it out and looked at it. It was Lanny's number. Hello, Fen Lin answered the phone. I already investigated Zhu Zize. He went to Yan City more than 20 years ago. Not all the previous information can be found, Lanny said there. Now I can roughly confirm that he is not a good person, said Fen Lin. Although his target was the land of the 9 netherworlds, he cooperated with the thugs of the island country. Blackgate, if you never restrain them and let them do evil, they are definitely not good people. Chapter 412 Ji Guangling. Don't worry about this matter for now. I will let ordinary people contact him first, Lanny said there. Fen Lin agreed that it was indeed inconvenient for him. He and Zhu Zize were not good friends, they only met because of Zhu Yan. He can see through his own strength. If Fen Lin approached him for no reason, he would definitely be suspicious. After hanging up the phone, a helicopter appeared in the sky. The helicopter landed on the grass and Fen Lin sat on it. Headquarters of the Infinite Organization. A tea house located on the outskirts of Yanjing. The red walls and red doors here are full of history. But as long as you are close, you will be able to detect the terrifying aura around you. Fen Lin put on his mask after approaching here. He appeared in front of the door in the blink of an eye. The door here was only ajar. Inside the tea house, there were elders sitting in 2s and 3s. Strength is to penetrate the realm. They also noticed Fen Lin and turned around. Several people's expressions were a little surprised. They didn't expect that a few years later, the Death Doctor would return here. However, they are all Supreme Masters and each of them is arrogant. He had never spoken to Fen Lin, so he naturally would not take the initiative to speak to him. Please, Mr. Doctor of Death, the old man is waiting for you. The boss sitting at the counter is an old man with a goatee and round sunglasses. He seems like a charlatan. Thank you, boss. Fen Lin nodded slightly and walked towards the back of the tea house. There is a small room here. After opening the wooden door, there is a hole below. However, the entrance to the cave has been transformed into a very regular staircase with lights next to it. Fen Lin went down and came to a relatively primitive mountain range. There are many courtyards in the distance, similar to houses with an outdoor courtyard. This is also the relic of an ancient sect. Fen Lin shook his head slightly. It was still the same, nothing had changed. What the hell, are you back? An old man on crutches was about to leave when he saw Fen Lin. Next to him was a young woman. However, this woman was wearing a mask and a peaked cap, and could only see a pair of pink, phoenix-like eyes. These phoenix eyes looked at Fen Lin in shock. Oh Xia, long time no see, Fen Lin greeted with a smile. The man in front of me is the guardian of the base where Demon City is located. The name is Xia Wenbo. He and Wenben were known as Wujian Shuangwen. His strength is a whole top-level existence. You're so amazing. I haven't seen you in 2 years and you've already reached this level. Xia Wenbo nodded secretly. In this case, it would be a good choice for his granddaughter to marry him. It's just luck, Fen Lin said with a smile. I have something to do with the old man, so I'll go there first. Okay, Xia Wenbo nodded slightly. The woman next to him turned around, looked at Feng Lin's retreating figure, and asked in a low voice, "Grandpa, is he the death doctor?" "Yes," Xia Wenbo said lightly. "Do you want to meet him?" "Why should I do it?" "I know it." Xia Mia pursed her lips. "I just met your father a few days ago. It seems like her father really likes you and wants you to be his daughter-in-law." Xia Wenbo smiled and looked at his granddaughter. Duh. Xia Mia spat. Feng Lin arrived at the courtyard on the top of the mountain, and before entering, he heard deafening rock music. Feng Lin picked his ears, opened the door and walked in. When we reached the yard, the sound was even louder. There was a big stereo on the chair next to it. Like those machines old ants use to dance in the square. However, it is not an old song, but a hard-hitting rock and roll song. In front of the stereo, there was an old man dressed in ripped jeans, a white shirt and big sunglasses. The old man was wearing a necklace of gold around his neck and harmonized with an electric guitar. As he played, his gray hair danced to the rhythm of the drum. This is the old man Wu Guangling. He felt that this old man was the strongest. It is different from the traditional old man. He likes to accept new things, especially music. He has dabbled in everything from the gukane to the pipa, from traditional music to electronic music. He is obviously an old man of over 100 years old, but he still dresses like a young man who has just entered society. Seeing Feng Lin come in, Ji Guangling turned off his speaker and greeted with a smile. "Here you go." The old man is still so arrogant. Feng Lin took off his mask and took out the white ring on his body with a smile. "Here you are. You brought it." Ji Guangling took it in his hand and looked at it. It is true that the space ring is empty. Why is it empty? Don't ask me. No, I don't know. Anyway, your mission is this ring, and I have already completed it. Yes. Feng Lin smiled and shrugged. Brat. Ji Guangling put away the ring, pushed up his sunglasses, and said with a smile, "I'm keeping this ring temporarily. You can take it from me at any time, but you have to promise me 5 tasks. Okay." Feng Lin smiled and nodded. "Let's go. I will call you to inform you of the next mission." Ji Guangling played the electric guitar a few times and greeted Feng Lin. "Don't worry, I won't default on your debt." After saying this, Feng Lin put on his mask and turned with his hands in his pants pockets. He had just left the courtyard when the music played again. Feng Lin shook his head. He didn't come back immediately, but was going to eat something. "I returned from the island country today and came here from Yum City, but I haven't eaten yet." Suddenly, his eyes widened when he met an acquaintance here. She was still carrying the yellow suitcase, but her eyes were slightly red. She obviously cried. Feng Lin walked over and patted her shoulder. "Why did you come to Yanjing?" Feng Lin. Reshisha seemed to see her relatives. Tears fell, and she lowered her head in grievance. "What's wrong with you?" Feng Lin asked in a deep voice. "Who hit you?" "I came to Yanjing to look for a job and I'm renting a house these days." Reshisha wiped her away. Tears and choking. The person who claimed to be the second owner took a deposit of 3,000 yuan from me and said he would help me find a house. Because I was in a hurry to find a job and didn't have time to look for a house, I gave him the money. She said she found a house and I signed the contract. The deposit will be refunded to me, but the house she found for me, well, you stop crying. Feng Lin scolded. Continue. The house he found for me is a shared house and there are people living in it. 3 gangsters, drinking and playing cards all the time. The house is not soundproof. I wanted to change the house, but he did not agree and said that he had found a house for me and the deposit would not be refunded. Reshisha cried. He told me to call the police at will. Don't be afraid. Since Feng Lin gave him 200,000 yuan and immediately returned the money to his family. Although he has more than 100,000 in his hands, he has worked hard to save them over the years. 3,000 yuan is not a small amount. She came to Yanjing alone, without friends, and always felt wronged. She didn't dare to go to the police alone for fear of retaliation. Have you found a job? Feng Lin asked. I found it, but I couldn't go for housing problems. Maybe I was fooled. When Ranshisha said this, she cried again. Come on. Where is that person? Take me there. Feng Lin said expressionlessly. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 413 Meeting Ranshisha again. Feng Lin, what are you going to do? Ranshisha shook his head at Feng Lin. We can't afford to offend them, so let's forget it. I want you to take me there, right? Do you understand? Feng Lin looked helpless. Even though he was so wronged, he didn't dare to take her to ask for money. Oh, Renshusha nodded. This was the only thing he could do. If I could get out a little, just a little. Renshusha held his suitcase and led the way. In order to relax her, Fen Lin took the initiative to help her. Thank you, Renshusha gently tidied up her hair that was messy by the wind, her face slightly red. I didn't expect to meet Feng Lin here, the destiny is amazing. By the way, are you here to work too? Renshusha asked from the side. Yes, Feng Lin nodded. What job are you looking for? Renshusha continued to ask. I didn't find it. I plan to return to Yun City today. It's better to live comfortably in Yun City. Fen Lin said softly. Yun City. Renshusha was also thinking about whether he should go there. The salary in Yanjing is really high, but the pressure here is too great and too hostile. Right in front, Renshusha pointed into the distance and said. Fen Lin looked up and found that there was only a small facade there. There's a sign hanging on it, Brother Dog Real Estate. There is also a photo of a husky. Fen Lin and Renshusha approached together and found that the front room was as big as a bedroom. There are 2 computers inside. There were 4 people sitting around the table playing poker. When someone entered, a young man in a suit stood up. He put out the cigarette and asked with a smile, Brother, are you renting a house? Or as he spoke, he noticed Renshusha following Fen Lin. His smile suddenly faded. I'm here to receive my girlfriend's deposit, Fen Lin said calmly. 3,000 yuan, give it to me now. The 3 people who were playing cards threw the cards on the table and stood up. When Renshusha saw this, she hid next to Fen Lin with some fear. Brother, you are not following the rules. Brother Gu smiled slightly. We agreed at the beginning that I would help her find a house. If she finds a house and lives in it, I will refund the deposit. But I also said, I can accept rent sharing, but you must be a woman and you have not fulfilled your obligations. Now, with Fen Lin's support, Renshusha felt a little more confident when speaking. This is my negligence, but I also tell you that the house will cost you 50 yuan cheaper every month. Brother Gu smiled, walked away and took out a contract. You have signed it. Fen Lin took the contract. He looked at it carefully and couldn't help but look back and look at Renshusha. Renshusha lowered her head in embarrassment. She just wanted to find a house as soon as possible. There were so many words in the contract here, and she didn't have the patience to read it. Fen Lin looked at the contract and said calmly. It says that after you find the house and the other party signs the contract, your deposit will be refunded. Yes, that house is cheap, only 2,000 per month. 1 deposit in 3 payments. Brother Gu smiled and nodded. As long as the money is paid and the contract is signed, I guarantee that the deposit will be refunded. Brother Gu, we are here to work and it is inconvenient. I bet you. Otherwise, I will give you 1,000 yuan for travel expenses and reimburse you for my 2,000 yuan, right? That is really not possible. That is what the contract says. Brother Gu looked helpless. We don't make much money. Definitely not, let alone 2,000, not even 3,000. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and said calmly. No, we don't say anything about not being able to find a house. Therefore, they are suspected of compulsory consumption. After calling the police, we not only want 3,000, but also some mental damage. Brother Gu laughed and said calmly, I'll wait. He is not afraid, he does not know how much he has been scammed. People's money. Usually, the people who come to rent a house from them are all outsiders who come here for the first time. I couldn't really find a house, so I looked for them. Even if they call the police and have contract, it's just a matter of delay. Who was afraid of who? Consumption here in Yanjing is very high for a young person who comes to work from other places. Can you afford it? You may run out of money in a few days. As for them, they originally lived here and must eat and drink. I think these people will leave on their own in a few days. Brothers, continue playing cards. Brother Gu looked at the brothers around him with a smile, not taking Fen Lin seriously. Renshusha's face looked a little ugly. It seemed that these people were really not afraid. After a while, several police officers approached. It seems that they have known this place for a long time. A square-faced young police officer sighed helplessly. Did you sign the contract? Hearing this, Renshusha's face turned pale, and then he nodded slightly. There's nothing we can do about it. You signed a contract, so I can't interfere. The young police officer was also a little helpless. Many people were like this before and did not break the law, so Fen Lin, forget it, just think of me as a loss. Renshusha was a little helpless. The police officer had said, what could he do? The few people playing cards here smiled again, and they did not forget to smile disdainfully at Fen Lin. Are you still fighting with yourself? Call your boss here. Fen Lin sat on the chair next to him. His tone was extremely indifferent. Our boss. Who are you? The square-faced policeman asked strangely. Ha, buddy, are you crazy? Do you know where this is? Brother Gu laughed madly. This is Yanjing, the imperial capital. Do you think it is a small place like yours? Said the head of the police station. Just come. Several other young people also laughed out loud. How can such an important fish care about such a trivial matter when it is so busy all day? Feng then reached into his pocket and took out his wallet from the space ring. He took out a red notebook with 2 fingers and handed it to the square-faced police officer. When the police officer saw this, his face instantly turned pale. This is, Do you know this? Feng Lin was a little surprised. In fact, he was a Yanjing police officer. Police station chiefs in some small places may not have seen this type of certificate. I know. I'll call our boss right away. The square-faced police officer saluted with great respect, opened the ID, and found a number stamped on it. Then take out your cell phone and make a call. Reshisha looked a little strange when she saw this. What's going on? Do you know your boss? Brother Gu and others next to him also pricked up their ears. They were a little scared. It is said that at the foot of the imperial city, even if you stumble, you can meet people from the countryside. Could this young man be the legendary second generation? In this case, they can't afford to provoke it. Maybe one word can send him to heaven. I know you. Don't look at me like that. I was still a soldier back then, Feng Lin said with a smile. Sir, our boss will come right away. The square-faced police officer respectfully handed the small notebook to Feng Lin. Chapter 414 How Precious is Favor. Brother Gu was so scared that he had really offended a big shot. With a flattering smile on his face, he took out 3,000 yuan from his body and handed it to Feng Lin. Brother, why bother alarming the bigwigs about such a trivial matter? Let's keep it private. When Renshishir saw the 3,000 yuan, he stretched out his hand in surprise. But when she found Feng Lin looking at her, she couldn't help but curl her lips and withdraw her hand. Brother, do you know how valuable favors are? Feng Lin crossed his legs and told the truth, especially the favors of such an important fish. Brother Gu lowered his head and did not dare to speak. Let me tell you, the call has been made. Whether he comes now or not, I owe him a favor. Feng Lin pointed to the 3,000 yuan in Brother Gu's hand and sneered. 3,000 yuan. You can double it. 10 times, I don't want it either. Brother. Spare your life. Brother Dog was so scared that he fell to his knees with a plop. He knew his own affairs very well, and to put it bluntly, he took advantage of loopholes. Swindling other people's money, if the bigwigs of it but really noticed this kind of thing. He was definitely locked in. Reshisha was a little confused. At that time he was so aggressive that he didn't take Feng Lin seriously. Now he knelt down on the spot. Forget me, forget it. I will give you 150,000 yuan. This is all the money I have saved over the years. Brother Gu pleaded. Feng Lin just looked at him coldly, and since he saw it, he must solve it immediately. Otherwise, they will continue to deceive the soon after. A police station car parked in the distance and a middle-aged man with a tall build and some fat on his face quickly walked in and handed his ID to the middle-aged man. Age. The middle-aged man confirmed the steel seal and said respectfully, Mr. Feng Lin, I'm Li Qiong. Reshisha was scared. What's going on? This is the head of the police station and everyone respects Feng Lin very much. Who was Feng Lin? As for people like Brother Gu, they are dead. It's so scary. This is the head of the Anjing police station. Old Li, take a look at this contract. I don't know how many people these people have defrauded of their money. Feng Lin patted Renshishia on the shoulder as he spoke. This girl is my work assistant. She was defrauded of 3,000. If you delay the mission, you must understand what will happen if you prevent me from completing the mission. Mr. Feng Lin, I promise you that you will never lie to others in the future. Li forced a salute and said sternly. Okay, Liajiazi. Feng Lin looked at Li Qiong. His physical condition was extraordinary. It turns out that they are special forces and have served in peacekeeping forces abroad. Li Qiong said with a smile. The 2 police officers standing next to him also showed red-learned expressions. You must know that if the current troops go to foreign battlefields to keep peace, they will fight gangsters with real swords and guns. This is a hero who actually killed people. Li Qiong returned to work as a police officer due to his injuries and after effects. I heard that Li Qiong knows people from many countries. I'll leave it to you. I took the 3,000 yuan that I cheated from my friend. Feng Lin took the 3,000 yuan in cash from Brother Gu's hand and turned to leave. Reshisha hurriedly followed Feng Lin. Li Qiong turned around and said to the 2 policemen, have the Ministry of Commerce come immediately to investigate your invoices. Yeah. The 2 policemen nodded together. Brother. Have mercy on me. I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to others. I don't want to go to jail. Brother Gu turned pale with fear. As for the several employees around him, they were too scared to speak. I put you in jail to save you, Liu Qiang said with a cold expression. Fen Lin, you're so amazing. I didn't expect you to meet people in Yanjing. Ren Shida took out his suitcase and followed Fen Lin with a smile. Fen Lin handed 3,000 yuan to Ren Shida. Take it. Ren Shida took the money, took out half of it, and handed it to Fen Lin. This is your payment for hard work, young master. I don't care about your little money. Fen Lin patted Ren Shida on the shoulder and said, I'll be careful when I leave. Are you going back to Yun City? Ren Shida asked. And asked. Not bad, what's wrong? Fen Lin stopped. I also want to develop in Yun City. Ren Shida lowered his head and said, I think this kind of big city is not suitable for me. It's up to you. Fen Lin shook his head. Softly, it just so happens that we can be together. Go back and save yourself from being deceived again. No more, Ren Shida said with a smile. Fen Lin called a taxi and the two got in together. Master, go to the airport, Fen Lin said to the driver. Oh. Airport. Ren Shida suddenly looked at Fen Lin embarrassedly. Flight tickets are very expensive. Let's go back by train. I invite you. Fen Lin looked at Ren Shida. Time is life, take the train. The train won't arrive until tomorrow and I want to return today before nightfall. I have money. Ren Shida thought about his 3,000 yuan. If it weren't for Fen Lin, he wouldn't have come. I'm not polite to you. If you have money, I won't invite you. Fen Lin said lightly. After the two bought their tickets, they returned to Yun City without stopping. This is Ren Shida's first time coming here. Looking around, I found that the economy is actually better than my hometown. She also decided to develop here. By the way, Fen Lin, do you have a girlfriend? Ren Shida suddenly lowered her head and asked. I don't have a girlfriend, Fen Lin replied. Hearing this, Ren Shida couldn't help but smile. Just as he was about to speak, Fen Lin said again. I have wife. What? Are you married? Ren Shida asked excitedly. Yes, what? Don't I look like someone with a wife? Fen Lin asked lightly. No, just a little unexpected. Ren Shida shook his head vigorously. By the way, you don't have any relatives or friends here, right? Fen Lin hailed a taxi and headed into the city with Ren Shida. No, Ren Shida shook his head. I have a friend who has a vacant employee apartment and can let you stay for a few days for free. Fen Lin thought for a moment, and it was fate to meet this person, so he would help her. Really? When I find a job, I will treat you to dinner. Ren Shida smiled sweetly. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and called Zhao King. It's best not to let Zhu Ruoying find out about this kind of thing, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble. After Zhao King answered the phone, Kei and Lin's Wuling Huangwei immediately came to pick them up. Fen Lin and Ren Shida got off the car together and waited on the street of Yun City. After a while, Zhao King parked the car in front of them. Zhao King poked her head out and smiled at Fen Lin. Ren Shida looked at Zhao King's pure face and was secretly surprised. This woman is so beautiful that she looks like a neighbor without makeup. Get in the car. Fen Lin looked at Ren Shida. Okay, thank you. Ren Shida got into the car and thanked Zhao King. It's okay, I don't live there recently. Zhao King looked in the rearview mirror and smiled at Ren Shida. Ren Shida looked at the car and felt envious in her heart. They probably didn't have much money. Otherwise I wouldn't drive this type of car. Before, Ren Shida still imagined that Fen Lin was a rich man. Chapter 415. Play hard to get it. After all, Fen Lin knew the bigwigs of Yanjing. Now it seems that I must have guessed wrong. Zhao King took them to the apartment. Fen Lin found that many rooms here had clothes hanging up. Apparently there are people living there. Zhu Ruoying's company really started to grow. At first, there was a wave of harassment and only 2 employees, Tan Hong and Zhao King, remained. The current employees are still with the company and have not returned. So there's no one here. Zhao King took Ren Shida to her original room. He handed the key to Ren Shida. This is the room. Is this what your employees live? It's so big. Ren Shida entered the room and was very surprised. Yes, Mr. Zhu from our company is very generous. Zhao King said with a smile. Fen Lin pouted beside her. She was simply not generous to herself. What is the name of your company? If possible, I would like to go for an interview. Ren Shida asked with a smile. Starlight Group, you can see it by searching on the map on your phone, Zhao King explained patiently. That's fine, thanks. Ren Shida looked at Fen Lin again. Thank you too. You're welcome, it's nothing, we're leaving. Fen Lin greeted Renshisha, took Zhao Qing's hand and left. Renshisha looked at the two people and whispered to herself, they're indeed husband and wife. Zhao Qing pulled Fen Lin back. When she arrived at the villa, she was ready to exercise. Fen Lin returned to the villa and found the little fox nesting on the sofa. He lay down on the couch and let the little fox lie on his stomach. Fen Lin took out the notebook he got and read it carefully. He suddenly discovered many little secrets. For example, the leader of the 8th sect is at odds with the leader of the 9th sect. Because the leader of the 9th sect slept with a servant of the 8th sect. The key is that this mate is also the 8th sect leader's favorite. Therefore, the leader of the 8th sect always points to the leader of the 9th sect. All of these can be used in the future and the best way is to let them fight each other. Fen Lin. At this moment, the door of the villa opened and Mu Xiaoyu ran in excitedly. He approached Fen Lin and said with a smile, I have become an ancient warrior. Fen Lin looked at the dancing Mu Xiaoyu, especially the violently beating parts, and nodded vigorously, good boy, amazing. Yeah, I'm leaving. Mu Xiaoyu headed to the other side again. Fen Lin reached out and gently hooked the little fox's chin. Sometimes I envy you. You eat and sleep. The little fox rolled his eyes in a very human manner and laid his head back down. Fen Lin has been studying his notebook this afternoon. Knowing many things about Jia Land, when facing them in the future, I will not be blind to the elephant. Darkness. Zhao Qing came over to cook first. Later, Zhu Wang and Mu Xiaoyu also joined in. Fen Lin was very excited now. He smiled and rubbed his hands. No one would bother him today. Jinku Jiak hasn't returned, so he can relax for the night. After a while, Zhao Qing served the food. Fen Lin sat at the dining table and crossed her legs very domineeringly. Zhu Wang, let's sleep together today. Do you want to be beaten? In front of Qing and Xiaoyu, I don't want you to do it. Zhu Wang was eating when he heard this sentence and almost choked. He raised his fist fiercely. Fen Lin raised his cheeks, ate the food in front of him, and said calmly, Xiaoyu, stay with me today. Mu Xiaoyu put down his chopsticks and said unnaturally, what do you have? Do you have something to do with me? I can't, I didn't agree to be your wife. Fen Lin, are you crazy? Zhu Wang slammed the table, shut up. Eat. Oh. Fen Lin nodded and secretly winked at Zhao Qing. Zhao Qing's face suddenly turned red, she quickly lowered her head and ate to hide her emotions. After the meal, Zhao Qing and Mu Xiaoyu washed the dishes together. Zhu Wang went to the room and took a shower first. Fen Lin returned to her room, lay down comfortably and waited quietly. Then, she sent a message to Zhao Qing. The door is open. For you. After a while, Zhao Qing secretly opened the door of Fen Lin's room and walked in. Fen Lin, what's wrong with you? Zhao Qing walked in with red cheeks and lowered her head. Zhao Qing, hey, Qing is still obedient. Fen Lin sighed, he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and felt the fragrance of Qing's body. But I'm not as big as my sister. Zhao Qing lowered her head and whispered. Qing, you have many advantages. No one is perfect, Fen Lin comforted her carefully. Actually, I know everything about you and your sister. Zhao Qing was still a little unsure. She looked at the milk bottle next to her and asked in a low voice, do you drink it often? Clean it so often. Zhao Qing made Fen Lin's face red. She looked at her phone and saw that it was already 10:30 at night. Zhu Wang and Mu Xiaoyu should have fallen asleep. Fen Lin simply smiled evilly. The window opened from outside and Jinku Jiak jumped in. Fen Lin jumped up excitedly, why are you back so soon? The plane just arrived tonight. Jinku Jiak smiled when Zhao Qing saw this, he immediately stood up. Coquettish. Sister Qihui, I'm going back. No, just as Jinku Jiak raised her hand, Zhao Qing immediately opened the door and ran away. She was not very interested in family affairs and did not know how to read the books. Account books. So I took my men and hurried over in the afternoon. I was now covered in sweat, so I had no intention of resting by Fen Lin's side tonight. However, Qing ran too fast. Qing is a good girl, much better than Zhu Wang. Jinku Jiak smiled and shook his head. Boss, I won't bother you today. Bang. Suddenly, Fen Lin's door opened and Zhu Wang ran in. I heard the sound just now and assumed it was you. Zhu Wang pointed fiercely at Jinku Jiak. Yeah, anyway, I have the boss tonight. Bye. Jinku Jiak jumped from the window with a smile. Eat. Zhu Wang's eyes widened and she immediately jumped out of the window to follow him. The two arrived at the lawn of the villa and Zhu Wang grabbed Jinku Jiak by the shoulders. She asked coldly, what did you just do to Fen Lin? Jinggu Jikyu licked her lips softly and whispered into Ruang's ear. What? Actually, Ruang blushed, pointed at Jinggu Jikyu and said, disgusting. You can scold me all you want, as long as the boss likes it. Jinggu Jikyu smiled and shrugged. Do you ever think that today I am different from usual? Why did you come back today? Ruang remembered that Jinggu Jikyu always slept until the next day. After being reminded, something is wrong today. Because the boss begged me not to let me go, saying that I am the only person in the world who can give him happiness. Jinggu Jikyu said with a smile, I definitely can't agree. This is called playing hard. Get. After saying that, Godmo Jikyu returned. Ruang looked towards Fenlin's room and clenched her fists. Chapter 416 Yunan's farewell. Ruang stood in the courtyard without responding. If what Jinggu Jikyu said is true, Fenlin, this bastard, will definitely stay with her. Damn. Ruang cursed secretly. In this case, Fenlin was really kidnapped by her. He covered his mouth. Could it be that he wanted to do this to Fenlin? But she couldn't accept it. Too disgusting. Ruang grabbed her hair and stayed in the courtyard, fighting for an hour. In the end, he decided to do the same due to his unwillingness to admit defeat. Now that his parents have been arrested, he has to work hard to improve his strength. I will have to fight in the future to save my parents. Therefore, she currently has no plans to get married and have children. But she is already Fenlin's wife. Thinking of this, Ruang gritted her teeth and jumped to the second-floor window. He closed the window, drew the curtains, closed the door, and lay down next to Fenlin. Fenlin noticed that Ruang's expression was abnormal and immediately asked, What's wrong with you? Shut up. I don't want to talk to you. Ruang felt as if her heart was pounding and her nervous voice was trembling. Just as Fenlin was about to speak, his expression suddenly changed and he almost made a sudden decision. He whispered, Honey, let yourself go, I was wrong. Ruang took a deep breath and got into bed. Early the next morning, Fenlin slept until 9 in the morning. He covered his head and thought about it all night, but he still didn't understand. What kind of medicine did Ruang take wrongly? I was a little uncomfortable. I opened the door and found Ruang walking out. Fenlin greeted with a smile, Honey, you just got up. Ruang just looked at Fenlin and went downstairs alone. Fenlin immediately grabbed her arm from behind, What's wrong with you? I'm fine. Ruang said lightly, then shook off Fenlin's hand and walked downstairs quickly. Fenlin was a little helpless. Could it be that he was too strong and kept her busy for more than half an hour? Today is Saturday. Fenlin arrived at the opposite door and found Zhao King training. She felt very stressed. Ruang and Mufelu at home had become ancient warriors. It would be very embarrassing if the newcomer Shamu surpassed him as well. Fenlin sat next to Men Chengsheng and said with a smile, Second Master, I'm almost done with the White Emperor Holy Sword. Give me another technique. Well, this is called Fallen Soul. To be honest, I don't know either. In fact, Men Chengsheng took out a piece of black metal, but at least practice this without hurting others or yourself. The name is good, it has the feeling of a villain, suitable for our Death Knight. Fenlin nodded with a smile and took it. Study this piece of iron carefully. On the other hand, Ruang faced Jinggu Jikyu again. The two fought for a while and Ruang was beaten. While Ruang rested, Jinggu Jikyu ridiculed again, Ruang, you said that the boss asked me to go to bed tonight, should I go? I don't care, I'm the eldest wife anyway. Ruang looked at Fenlin in the distance and curled her lips. Really? But the boss said last night that I'm the one, Jinggu Jikyu said with a smile. Didn't you just do that kind of thing? What are you so proud of? I did it too. Ruang raised her face proudly. What? Are you kidding? According to Jinggu Jikyu's understanding, Ruang doesn't like to lie. Could it be, what? Can you do it? Ruang looked at Jikyue, although she felt a little disgusted. But when I was in college, I secretly watched a movie with Zuzi lying in bed. That kind of thing is almost a necessary part. Not to mention how could he lose to other women? Seeing that Jinggu Jikyu's face was very ugly, Ruang showed a victorious smile. You seem to understand that as long as we are at the same starting point, Fenlin likes me more. I was joking last night, I just got back from the plane, I'm all sweaty and I haven't done anything. Jinggu Jikyu looked a little embarrassed. You, haha. Who are you lying to? Ruang sneered, but her expression was a little nervous. I really didn't. You don't know who the boss is. How could he let me do such a thing? Jinggu Jikyu spread his hands. What the hell? Only then did Ruang react. Yes. Fen Lin had said before that he considered Akata Genguji as his sister, but he had never had the thought. If you really want to do something like this, why wait until yesterday? Coupled with Fen Lin's expression yesterday, he was obviously confused at first. Zhuoying said. Covered her mouth and looked at Genguji Qihui, you big liar. Smelly woman. I'll kill you. She looked like a goddess in front of Fen Lin. She must be falling apart now. Okay, what's wrong? Fen Lin noticed Zhuoying's furious look and rushed to grab her arm. I'm Da. Zhuoying sprayed Fen Lin in the face, her face turned red, disgusting. She shook off Fen Lin's hand, covered her face and ran away. What a shame. How'll I see anyone in the future? He wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it, never to come out again in his life. Are you bullying me again? Fen Lin looked at Yadera Akahui. I didn't. Genguji Akata puffed his lips and shook his head. Tell me, what's wrong with him? Fen Lin pinched Genguji Qihui's ears. He felt something was wrong with Zhuoying last night. Boss, I was wrong, let me tell you. Genguji Qihui quickly raised his hand and told Fen Lin the whole story. Fen Lin's face suddenly darkened. Oh. What should I tell you? You really are, my good brother. TCH. Genguji Akata rolled her eyes. Fen Lin finally realized. She thought Zhuoying was stimulated and a little worried. Now it seems that she was simply tricked. She came out hurriedly, ran and followed Zhuoying to the villa opposite. When he arrived at the living room, he found Zhuoying lying on a sofa, covering her eyes with her palms. Fen Lin walked over with a smile. Honey, what's wrong? Don't talk to me, Zhuoying even cried. She was famous all her life. It's okay, Fen Lin smiled and sat next to Zhuoying, lifting her from the sofa. If I do what you did to me again, wouldn't it be the same? Damn. You have a beautiful idea. Zhuoying's face turned red and she continued hitting Fen Lin with her pink fists. I'm not angry anymore. Fen Lin held Zhuoying in her arms and comforted her with a smile. You're still laughing. Zhuoying pointed at Fen Lin and looked at him fiercely. Don't smile. Fen Lin suppressed his smile and tried to contain it. HMPH. I don't care. I have done this to you, I must be the eldest wife. Zhuoying puffed her cheeks, looked at Fen Lin and said. Great wife, you should lead by example, once a day from now on, Fen Lin said calmly. You're dreaming. Zhuoying pinched Fen Lin's arm. At this moment, Fen Lin's cell phone rang, and he took it out and looked at it. It was a bunch of garbled characters. This must be Liu Nian's phone number. Although she was an enemy, Liu Nian helped him get so many treasures. Fen Lin will definitely answer your call. Boss, I'm here to say goodbye. Liu Nian said there. Chapter 417 Genetic Modification. When Fen Lin heard this, he asked coldly, Liu Nian, what are you doing? Hearing that it was Liu Nian, Zhuoying also put her ear to the phone to listen. The last time you called me your wife, I didn't tell you what I promised you. Now I can tell you. Liu Nian paused and smiled. Zhuoying's parents were kidnapped by the True Human Organization. Fen Lin and Zhuoying look at each other. It was speculation before, but now it's finally confirmed. Have you joined the real humans? Fen Lin asked in a deep voice. That's right. Boss, it's your fault for ruining my plan. I can't wait any longer. I want to take the initiative. When Liu Nian said this, his voice was a little free and calm. I am ready to accept the genetic modification of real humans. Fen Lin's eyes suddenly narrowed into a thin line. They told me the success rate is only 10%. Liu Nian smiled and said, I agree. I don't even believe a word of your words, Fen Lin said coldly. Such a scheming person, how can you do something with such a low success rate? Believe it or not, but the truth is that if the transformation is successful, I will dare to appear in front of the boss and the second master. Liu Nian smiled and paused. I really came to say goodbye this time. The original website is a present for you. After saying that, Liu Nian hung up the phone. Fen Lin immediately used his mobile phone to open the website created by Liu Nian. After entering the password, I found that it was just a text format file. Fen Lin opened it and only said a few words. Another undercover agent of the Secret Legion is Zhangzu King's second son, Zhangzu. Be careful with Kai Lin, this woman is scarier than I thought. She has had contact with real humans, has a close relationship with Yi Tianzi, and has a close relationship with Yi Tianzi. By cooperating with Jia Land, she is present in all the main organizations I have come into contact with so far. Boss, if I really die, will you be sad? I love you. Liu Nian only left these few words. Fen Lin looked at his phone and thought for a long time. Zhuoying patted Fen Lin on the shoulder before reacting. Liu Nian is beautiful, smart and gentle, and the key is very important. It is understandable that you like her, Zhu Ruang murmured in a sinister manner. Fen Lin smiled bitterly and lay on Zhu Ruang's lap, but she killed my brother. When Zhu Ruang heard this, her face suddenly solidified. He gently touched Fen Lin's face. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with you. Fen Lin took a deep breath and said, work hard. I'm going to work. After saying that, Fen Lin quickly left. He drove his Wuling and rushed to Jiang City without stopping. After you get here, go directly to Lanny's house. Lan was lying on a chair in the courtyard, listening to the news. Seeing Fen Lin coming in, he stood up straight with a smile. What's wrong? I asked you to come here in person. It is more convenient to meet face to face. Fen Lin took out his cell phone and handed over the message. Liu Nian handed it to Lanny. Lanny looked at him and said in a deep voice, Zhang Zhu. Do you know him? Fen Lin asked. Of course, Zhang Zhu King's second sons, the eldest, Zhang Yu, and the second, Zhang Zhu. Lan nodded and explained. The eldest likes to do business, and the second likes to fight. He is currently the deputy director from the War Department of a secret organization. Fen Lin held his chin and asked, do you think this is Liu Nian's conspiracy, or is it true? It's hard to say, but if you think about it carefully, Liu in fact, Nian was in that base when he stole the supercalculator. Lan lights a cigarette. Where is he now? Fen Lin asked. Liu Nian stole all the information from the supercomputer. This is a stain on Fen Lin's life. If this is really the person, Fen Lin must catch him. Zhang Zhu King is about to leave seclusion. Everyone in the Zhang family has returned now. Lan flipped the ashes from his cigarette and said. I'll go take a look, Fen Lin said. No, are you sure Zhang Zhu King isn't an undercover agent? Lan said in a deep voice, I'll tell you a secret. 20 years ago, before Zhang Zhu King joined Wu Jian, his ranking in the heavenly ranking was number 1. Fen Lin was surprised. Incomparable, no wonder he heard that the Zhang family is an important family. It's plus, you weren't familiar with Wu Jian back then. Lan shook his head. There were only a handful of Wu Jian who could compare with Zhang Zhu King in strength. He was going to find someone with the same background to explore the situation. I have an engagement with Zhang Banxia, Fen Lin said awkwardly. What? Lan shouted in shock. You, Fen Lin. You contacted the Zhang family. Misunderstanding. This is the commitment my father made for me. Fen Lin rolled his eyes. That's good. You're a member of Wu Jian and are engaged to Zhang Banxia. It's really nothing to go to his house. Lanny stood up solemnly, proceed with caution. I'll talk to the boss right away. Okay, Fen Lin nodded. Lanny sent Fen Lin to the door. Fen Lin waved his hand, indicating that Lanny didn't need to send any more and went back to prepare. But facing a supermarket on the side of the road, I saw 2 women. Tang Qian and Gu Dudu are holding hands and just left a shopping mall. Tang Qian still has short shoulder-length hair and looks pretty. Dudu has 2 pigtails and is also soft. Fen Lin parked the car on the side of the road, opened the window and greeted the 2 of them. Qian. Dudu. Fen Lin. Tang Qian raised his head, noticed Fen Lin at the car window, and hurried over. Gu Dudu also followed Tang Qian. Aren't you in Yan City? Tang Qian approached the window and asked with a smile, I came here to run some errands and prepare to return now. Fen Lin observed the 2. It had been a short time before they mastered the key. The guidance of teachers like Yi. That's right, you can take me to Yan City today, Tang Qian said to Gu Dudu. Dudu, you don't have to ask the driver to take me. Dudu nodded. Today's Zhu 6th dynasty. In the past few weeks, Gu Dudu has been going to Yan City every 2 weeks. He stayed with his mother for 2 days. Goodbye Dudu. Tang Qian waved his hands and sat down in the passenger seat. Let's go. Fen Lin greeted Gu Dudu and stepped on the accelerator. Tang Qian looked at Fen Lin, with a hint of pretentiousness in her expression. Fen Lin, I'm very strong now. Oh. How loud. Fen Lin looked at her with a smile. It won't be a problem to knock you down with one hand, Tang Qian said calmly. Fen Lin smiled and shook his head, but said nothing. This is a common problem among all people. Everyone feels invincible when they have just become ancient warriors. After taking Tang Qian to the employee department, Fen Lin saw Ren Shisha in the distance. He was with several people and seemed to be arguing. Fen Lin immediately got off the car with Tang Qian and walked over. What happened? Fen Lin, you came just in time. Ren Shisha hurriedly walked to Fen Lin and pointed to a woman in front of her. She don't let me in. Ren Shisha, this is our employee's apartment. How can you, a person who has just been interviewed, be qualified to enter? said a woman with a round, uniformed face with her arms crossed. Chapter 418 The Fox Pretends to be the Power of the Tiger. Fen Lin looked at the woman, then at Redshisha and asked, "Do you know each other?" "She is my college classmate. Today I went to Starlight Group for an interview. The interviewer asked me to go back and wait for the notification." Redshisha took out the keys from her body. "I was about to go back, but she stopped me and didn't let me in." Quentin Hewitt crossed his arms and said calmly, "You don't even know. Whose house is it, so the key must be fake." Redshisha really didn't know. "I forgot to ask him Fen Lin's wife's name before. He mentioned Fen Lin's name, but the other party didn't recognize him." "How are you talking? Isn't it just that when you were in college, the man you had a crush on confessed to me? As for that..." Redshisha's voice was a little louder. "You, get out of here right now. Otherwise, I'll call security." Quentin Hewitt coldly pointed at Redshisha. "Who are you? What is your position in the company? Are you so angry?" Fen Lin frowned slightly, walked over and asked, "You drive a Wuling Huangwin, what qualifications do you have to ask me?" Quentin Hewitt looked a little disdainful. "I am at the top of the company and have relatives." When Redshisha heard this, she looked helpless. In human society, she can only give in. Originally, she planned to ask Fen Lin to reveal his wife's name, but if so, it is very likely that Fen Lin's wife Lin was also involved. Fen Lin helped her so much, how could she be so embarrassed? So, she handed the key to Fen Lin and said with a smile, "Fen Lin, thank you, I'll stay at the hotel myself." "Senior level person." "What senior level person?" "Name it." The expression was a little cold. Zhuang's company has only been developing for a month or two. If this kind of thing happens, won't they make a big change in the future? "Who do you think you are?" "Why should I tell you?" Quentin Hewitt pursed his lips in disdain. The two little followers next to him stood up at this moment. In comparison, the two of them arrived before Quentin Hewitt. But Quentin Hewitt and Tang Hong from the company, they are relatives. Who was Tang Hong? The group's lobby manager. This position alone is already powerful enough. The key person in the group's president, Zhuang, are old friends. He even called her Ang Tang. Zhuang has been busy recently and rarely comes to the company. Many company affairs are left to Zhuang's secretary, Zhao Qingqing. It can be said that the company's life and death power recently is in Zhao Qingqing's hands. But when Zhao Qingqing saw Tang Hong, he also called her Ang Tang. Just explain Tang Hong's condition. "Wow, it's okay to tell you that Sister Ko's relative is called Tang Hong," a slightly thin woman said proudly. "Yes, it's our lobby manager, Tang Hong." Another fat woman followed. Fen Lin was not confused by this sentence, but Tang Qian next to him was confused first. Their relatives have stopped communicating with each other since they found out they owed money. When did they get this relative? Tang Hong. Fen Lin immediately looked at Tang Qian. Tang Qian immediately shook her head. "You don't even know about Tang Hong, do you?" Quentin Hewitt couldn't help but shook his head. "She is the lobby manager of the group. Our president, Mr. Zhu, has to call her aunt." Quentin Hewitt is also a service staff in the lobby and has experienced several after a failed job. "I learned an idiom, a fox pretends to be a tiger." As soon as he arrived at the company, he started looking for a sponsor. In the end, I chose Tang Hong because this woman is very easy to talk to. So he took the initiative to find Tang Hong almost every day and asked him questions. Tang Hong also explained patiently. In private, he deliberately pretended to be talking on the phone in front of some employees. The first thing he said was that Tang Hong's title was not simple. Zhuang and Zhao Qingqing in the company called her this. Afterwards, employees began approaching her. She also admitted in disguise that she and Tang Hong were related, intentionally or not. She has only been in the company for half a month and now some of the former employees have to call her sister quick. Redshisha didn't expect Quentin Hewitt to meet such an important fish. "It seems that you can no longer go to this company. Fen Lin, let's go back." Redshisha turned around and made sure not to implicate Zhao Qingqing. If someone knew such an important fish, they could send Fen Lin's wife away with just one sentence. "It's a coincidence that we also know Tang Hong. How are you related to him?" Fen Lin put his arm around Tang Qian's shoulders as he spoke. "What do you pretend to be?" Quentin Hewitt didn't believe it was a coincidence. What's more, this person is driving a Wuling Huangwin. What kind of big shot can he be? Am I pretending? And Tang Hong has a day off today. Call her to come over. Fen Lin smiled. Your company has a paid leave system. It is not a fixed weekend off. Otherwise, there will be no one on duty on weekends when there are more customers. But Tang Qian is still in school and has Saturdays and Sundays off. That's why Tang Hong deliberately set his rest time on weekends. Did I call? Why didn't you call? Quentin Hua's expression was a little mocking. She was fake in the first place. Is she calling to look for death? Tell people that I have a play here and I need you to help me. Help represent her. Kion, call Feng Lin looked at Tang Kion. I have already sent a WeChat message. Tang Kion raised her head and said, she was also a little surprised that her mother was so powerful. However, everything. This is because of Feng Lin. If it weren't for him, his family would still have to worry about the money they owed. Haha, what are you pretending to be? In fact, I know what you're thinking. You just want to pretend to be powerful. Quentin shook his head seriously. You're afraid of being embarrassed and bullied. Please leave quickly and don't mess around. Don't make me angry. Reshisha immediately grabbed Lin Feng. Lindsay said, let's go. What he fears most now is that Feng Lin's wife is involved, otherwise he would have cursed her. Haha. Quentin Hua crossed his arms with a proud expression on his face. Are you here? At this moment, a friendly voice came from afar. Everyone here turned around and saw Tang Hong walking towards this side with a smile on his face. Sister Quip, that's great. Yuanda's here. Sister Quip, go hit them in the face. When the two followers around Quentin Hua saw this, they all became excited. They like seeing this kind of slaps the most. Quentin Hua cursed in his heart, what a fart. However, his brain was still running wild and he immediately walked towards Tang Hong with a smile. Manager Tang, Quentin Hua called sweetly. Tang Hong was happy to see his daughter, so he smiled and nodded. It's Jacques. This sentence immediately surprised Quentin Hua. He secretly glanced at his two little followers, and sure enough, they were convinced. Quentin Hua pointed to Feng Lin and others and said, they just said that they were your relatives. After saying this, Quentin Hua felt that he was a genius. This wave of target transfer is almost perfect. Give him a slap in the face. The two young followers looked at Feng Lin with mocking expressions. Mom, Tang Kion called, ran over with a smile and hugged Tang Hong's arm. Damn. Quentin Hua was stunned. Chapter 419 becomes increasingly sinister. Mother. Just this word made Quentin Hua's soul tremble. It's easy to pretend to be a relative. If you call me aunt, most people won't care. You can just call me mom. There are only two possibilities. First, something is wrong with this person's brain. Secondly, it's true. Quentin Hua looked at Tang Kion and this woman didn't seem to be a fool. That must be true. As for his two little followers, everyone was confused. Since this woman is Tang Hong's daughter, she should know Quentin Hua, a relative. Kion, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Tang Hong looked at Feng Lin with a smile. Feng Lin, I have prepared delicious food, come eat. Andy, before we eat, I want to ask some questions. Feng Lin smiled and pointed at Quentin Hua. Is she a relative? It's over. Quentin Hua's face turned pale. Is it such a coincidence? Pretending to be a relative, he actually pretended to be in front of someone else's daughter. Jacques. She's not. She's a new employee. I don't think she understands anything, so I just take care of her a little bit. Tang Hong didn't know what happened and explained with a smile. What? Aren't you related to Manager Tang? Quentin Hua's two followers asked sharply. Andy, I told you a long time ago. Don't be such a bad person. People are bullying others because they are your relatives. Feng Lin said lightly. That. Tang Hong couldn't believe it and his voice became colder. Quentin Hua, what's going on? Quentin Hua just wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl towards it. Manager Quip, you lied to us and said you were related to you. You often form cliques among employees. That's right. Many people don't dare to report you because they are afraid of offending you. The people are these two, little follower. They tend to offend many people in the company just to flatter themselves. Now tell me something. You are false. Who can I talk to reason with you? Quentin Hua, you disappoint me so much. Is this how you treat me? Tang Hong was really angry. Manager Tang, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Quentin Hua was so scared that she immediately knelt on the ground. I have to say that the boss of Starlight Group is really generous. For interns who also have no work experience, the salary here is almost the highest in the entire Cloud City. She really likes this company. You get up first, I can't afford it. If Manager Tang doesn't forgive me, I won't get up. Quentin Hua covered her face and cried. You, Andy. She's just taking advantage of your good heart. Feng Lin's voice was a little cold. Call King immediately and ask the personnel department to take her. You, who is it? Do you think you are? Tang Hong roared. Feng Lin was his family's benefactor. He is also his daughter's future husband. You should not feel insulted. For such a person. He immediately took out his phone and sent a message to Zhao Qingqing to tell her what happened this time. Okay, Fen Lin, I sent a message to Fen Lin, then looked at Regisha next to Fen Lin and asked, who is it? A friend of mine just arrived in Young City. Since there is no place to live, I will temporarily let her live in Qingqing's room, Fen Lin explained with a smile. Qingqing's room. Quitin Hua, who was kneeling on the ground, was surprised. This man really knew Zhao Qingqing. That's Mr. Zhu's secretary. The two young followers were also surprised. No wonder he was so familiar with Manager Tang's daughter. It turns out that they all know each other. Don't waste your time here, go eat first, Fen Lin said with a smile. Okay, come with me quickly, don't let the food get cold. Tang Hong nodded repeatedly, took Tang Qianqian's hand and walked back. Regisha looked at Quitin Hua, raised his fist at her, and said with a smile, let's go. Then, he followed Fen Lin with a smile. Quitin Hua's two little followers also laughed at her. He arrived at the room where Tang Hong lived. As soon as he entered, he could smell the aroma of food. Fen Lin was about to enter when he found Regisha following him. He asked calmly, if you don't go back to where you live, why are you following me? Regisha's face turned red, and he secretly cursed Fen Lin for not giving him face, so he could just turn around and leave. Fen Lin, everyone is here, what's wrong with eating something? Tang Hong smiled and took Regisha's hand, go ahead. Thank you, Manager Tang. Regisha nodded with a smile. Andy, let me tell you first, don't open the back door for anyone, Fen Lin reminded her lightly. Regisha met by chance and was different from Zhao Qingqing. If a person is looking for a job, Fen Lin will introduce the company to him, and Zhu Ruang's company will also close. I understand, I'm not from the Human Resources Department. Tang Hong nodded with a smile. Regisha looked at Fen Lin indifferently, you underestimate me. I will join the company based on my strength. This is the best, Fen Lin agreed. After having dinner here with Tang Hong and Tang Qianqian, Fen Lin returns alone. For now, there are still important things on his side. In fact, he already had the answer in his heart. Liu Nian's last message did not lie to him. However, he said that the chance was only 1 in 10, but Fen Lin did not believe it. Fen Lin felt that there should be a risk of death, so he said these things to himself. According to what he said, if he succeeds, he will dare to stand in front of her and the second master. You must feel that as long as the genetic modification is successful, you will not be afraid of yourself or the second master. Even if you can't beat them, you can still escape intact in front of them. When Fen Lin returned to the villa, he sent Zhang Bangxia a WeChat message. Asked if his grandfather had left seclusion, Fen Lin prepared to go there. Zhang Bangxia replied to Fen Lin and told him that he would pick him up immediately. Fen Lin also began preparations. Before she came, Fen Lin was left alone in the courtyard, studying the fallen soul. Fen Lin discovered that this was a state-like technique. This is a good thing, it is equivalent to Fen Lin getting another benefit besides the thumbtack. A few hours later, Zhang Bangxia drove a red Ferrari and parked in front of Fen Lin's villa. Fen Lin. Zhang Bangxia jumped out of the car and shouted. This voice was heard not only by Fen Lin, but also by Jinggu Jiqu and Zhu Ruang from the opposite villa. It's you again. Zhu Ruang looked at the high school girl in front of her, her eyes gradually narrowing. He's ditched the scumbag quotes, recently fallen in love with harem dramas, and learned a lot from imperial concubines vying for favor. One of the most classic plots is to sow discord and make other concubines fight. Zhu Ruang looked at Moji Ak and said calmly, come on, this woman is very strong, you can't beat her. I can't beat her. Are you kidding me? Jinggu Jiak couldn't help but laugh. That person claims to be the official palace, but I am convinced anyway. Zhu Ruang was dejected and clenched her fists tightly. I hate myself, why am I so weak? Fen Lin rolled his eyes, why is this Zhu? Is Ruang becoming more and more sinister? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 420 Meeting his fiancée again. Zhu Ruang's words immediately made Jinggu Jiqu react. She is the bastard of the main palace. It's obviously me. Jinggu Jiqu remembered the ruins of this person on the other side of the desert. She had seen this man. Some people have become more and more arrogant recently, and they don't even know who they are talking to. Zhang Bangxia raised her face disdainfully. Are you talking about yourself with these words? Jinggu Jiqu walked towards Zhang Bangxia. Zhang Bangxia also walked towards Jinggu Jiqu. Brush. The two of them held their palms and began to slowly release ki. The heat became stronger and stronger and the surrounding air began to solidify. Don't fight anymore. If you want to fight, go to the dance studio. Zhuang shouted, fearing that the world would not be in chaos. Boom. Due to Zhuang's stimulation, cracks appeared on the asphalt road under her feet. That's enough. Fenlin quickly stepped forward and pushed the two of them away. He was a little helpless. This was different from his ideal life. Who said that having 3 wives and 4 concubines is a man's dream? This time I have a mission and I'm going out, Fenlin said to Zhenguji Akahui. I'll go to Zhenguji Akahui grabbed Fenlin's arm. I'll go and check the situation first. Stay at home and train Zhuang. Don't leave her idle. Fenlin looked at Zhuang as he spoke. Zhuang pursed her lips and turned her face away. Fenlin was only a temporary comfort. He will not be Zhenguji Akahui deal with this matter. The Zhang family is so powerful that if there's a conflict, Fenlin will find it difficult to escape on his own. Not to mention carrying a bottle tow. Zhang Banxia sat in the driver's seat. Fenlin followed him and sat in the passenger seat. Zhang Banxia stepped on the accelerator and heard the roar of a sports car. Then the Ferrari turned around and left. The Zhang family is located east of Sankin, bordering the Central Plains. This place is called Yushi. When Zhang Banxia arrived here, it was already dusk. He drove the car to a villa. This is my house. You will rest here tonight. Zhang Banxia parked the car in the courtyard of the villa. Can't we go to your grandfather's house now? Fenlin asked as he got out of the car. My grandfather will soon be released from confinement. No one can approach him now. Zhang Banxia looked at Fenlin and said, you can also go take a look nearby first. All right. Fenlin nodded. He was here anyway, not to mention Zhang Yu was very good to him. You should be able to enter without problems. Fenlin, I'll go to my grandfather's house first to check the situation. If you want to take a look, go ahead. Zhang Banxia pointed to the door of the villa. I won't lock it. That's fine, thanks. Fenlin smiled and nodded. By the way, my grandfather is no longer in seclusion. Many teachers will come to congratulate him. Zhang Banxia reminded, be careful when you go out. There may be many teachers in Yushi now. Well, that's very thoughtful. Fenlin smiled. Say yes. HNPH, Zhang Banxia snorted coldly and couldn't help but think of the first time Fenlin scolded him. This time he was not driving a sports car, but an electric Lotolu and left here. Fenlin stretched and took advantage of the sunset to go for a walk. The economy of Yu City is similar to that of Zhang City. There are mountains, water and beautiful landscapes here. Especially the setting sun on the horizon casts a ribbon over the city. Fenlin put his hands in his trouser pockets and was about to buy some snacks, but he suddenly felt a strong aura. Master! Fenlin exclaimed, followed the breath, and came to an ordinary restaurant. There were not many people here, and Fenlin looked at the 3 people sitting by the window. A man, a woman and an old man. The powerful aura emanated from this old man. The woman and the old man were sitting in a row, facing inwards. Therefore, Fenlin could only see the back. As for the young man in front of them, Fenlin could see clearly. Short hair, Chinese character face and very tall figure. His strength has also reached the peak of the early stage of the divine orifice realm. As for this woman, she possesses powerful secret abilities that Fenlin cannot see. Cece, after congratulating Mr. Zhang this time, I want to visit your house. The man opposite said with a smile, his expression somewhat flattering. Well, welcome. This young woman with elegant manners, took the disposable cup and took a sip of tea. Her voice is very soft, but very approachable, giving people the impression that she is a lady. Haha, if you go this time, I will give you a big gift, the man in front said with a smile. I would also like to thank Cece for your help. You're very smart. If someone marries you in the future, it must be a blessing earned in the previous life. What a trivial skill, nothing worth mentioning, the woman said with a smile, her voice still as calm as water, without waves. Fenlin is sitting here drinking mineral water. It seems that they are the people who Zhang Banxia said to compliment Zhang Ziking. Sir, what do you want to eat? The waiter in the distance had been waiting for a long time and found Fenlin sitting there without ordering. Fenlin was speaking when the woman in front of him looked back. Fenlin saw her face. It is a very intellectual face that gives people the feeling of being an older sister. Bright eyes, white teeth, beauty. This woman in Fenlin has seen her before. However, it was just a glimpse just now and I didn't see it clearly. Then Fenlin got up and walked into the restaurant, turned and looked at the woman in front of him. Fenlin was shocked. He immediately took out the photos from his pocket, flipped through them one by one, and finally found this woman. After so long, he finally met his fiancée again. "Handsome boy, what are you looking at?" Jin Isai raised her beautiful eyes and asked with a smile. There was no anger or disgust in his expression. After being reminded, the man in front looked at Fen Lin, his eyes cold and piercing. He didn't speak, just said a word with his mouth. "Get out." Fen Lin was too lazy to talk to this man. "I just wanted to deal with the women in the 10 photos first. Zuroing, Lan Rao, Tan Kion. Du Qingyu, Wen Ranxi, Shamu, Wang Linder." He already knew and had contact with the 7 people in the photo. Currently there are 3 left. Once you deal with the woman in front of you, there will only be 2 people left. Fen Lin put the other photos into his pocket, holding only Jin Isai's photo. He smiled and sat next to the man, placing the photo in his hand on the table. Wang Chen, who was next to him, looked at him with murderous intent on his face. "Who are you? Why is there a photo of Cici?" Jin Isai and the white-haired old man next to her were staring at the photo. Their expressions were solemn, because the background of this photo was a white flame-shaped rockery. This is something that only exists in your cult leader's backyard. "Haha, handsome boy, who are you? Why are you holding my photo?" Jin Isai asked with a smile. "My name is Fen Lin. I wonder if you've heard of me. I'm your fiancé." Fen Lin crossed his legs and said, "I won't beat around the bush. I have about a dozen wives. Are you willing to be one of them?" Chapter 421 Jin Isai. "Fuck you, you're looking for death." Wang Chen, the narrator, slammed the table, causing it to crumble instantly. "Stop." Jin Isai reminded. Wang Chen stopped, but still had an angry expression on his face. "Cici, how dare this kid insult you? I can't stand it." Jin Isai just shook his head gently and took his first look at the old man. To her. The old man understood, took out a small $100 bills from his body, and handed them to the frightened waiter next to him. "There are several thousand yuan here, which is enough to pay for your table." The old man put the money in the waiter's hand. "You said you are my fiancé?" Jin Isai asked calmly. "First tell me if it is you in that photo." "If it is you, then it is." Fen Lin raised the photo in his hand. "Yes, it's actually me up there." Jin Isai nodded. "That's right. If you don't know, you can call and ask your elders." Fen Lin said calmly. "This woman is prettier than in the photo. And you can't see his behavior in the photos." In reality, Jin Isai feels like an older sister. Except that his figure is too ordinary, other aspects are quite in line with Fen Lin's previous aesthetics. But Aunt Fen Lin felt that enough was enough. He took care of all the people around him. "In the future, if we really live together, we will have a dozen every 3 days and a dozen every 5 days." His wonderful retirement life is gone. Therefore, their plan was to call off the engagement before the 2 parties had any contact and had no feelings for either party. "Boy. You fart. How could a proud girl like Cici be engaged to you?" Wang Shank shouted next to him. Jin Isai is the woman he likes and he must not allow others to get involved with her. "Okay. I'll call and ask." Jin Isai also remembered that his father seemed to have said that a marriage was arranged for her. However, the incident was never mentioned again. She always felt that her father was joking. He took out his mobile phone from his body and called his father. "Dad." "Girl, what's wrong?" The voice of a middle-aged man came from the other side. "The few people sitting here are above the divine realm." They could clearly hear the sound of the phone call that was so close. Jin Isai naturally knew this, but he did not avoid it. "Senior Jiangsu King hasn't come out of seclusion yet, but I met someone who claimed to be my fiancé." Jin Isai looked at Fen Lin. He said his name was Fen Lin. "Fen Lin. Ask him, what is his father's name?" The voice on the other side was a little urgent. "My dad asked you, what's your dad's name?" Jin Isai smiled at Fen Lin. Fen Lin replied. He said his name was Fen Chen. Jin Isai asked on the phone. "That's right. He is your fiancé," came the voice on the other side. "I didn't expect him to still remember this marriage." Hearing this, Wang Shang had hatred in his eyes and secretly clenched his fists. "I didn't expect this guy to actually be my fiancé. He never forgives." "Okay, let's do this for now. I'll talk to him first." Jin Isai hung up the phone with a smile, then looked at Fen Lin. "Hello, my name is Jin Isai. Okay, now that we're clear, let's get started. Now's the topic." Fen Lin nodded and asked with a smile. "You don't agree, right?" Fen Lin, what do you mean you don't want to marry me?" Jin Isai suddenly asked. Hearing this, Wang Shang also looked at Fen Lin. "Yes, I've lost count of my wives. I think there are enough, so the choice is yours." Fen Lin paused and smiled. You either join this big family or break off the engagement. Break the engagement. Jin Isai's smile was a little playful. Why didn't you break the engagement? Because I originally wanted you to join. After all, you are so beautiful. Fen Lin's meaning was simple. Let's go. The other party breaks off the engagement. If something happens in the future, my old Feng family will definitely take the initiative. After all, it was the other party who broke off the engagement. This can be considered a precautionary measure. Fen Lin, you are so interesting. Jin Isai stood up and looked at Fen Lin with a smile. As a woman, my marriage must follow my father's arrangements. What era are we in? Fen Lin was a little helpless. Sorry, our family is more traditional. Jin Isai smiled and nodded. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. She left without looking back. The white-haired old man next to her also got up and followed her. And Wang Sheng was still sitting here. He put his hand on Fen Lin's shoulder and whispered, I am from the Wang family. Breaking off the engagement is your only option, and he lightly patted Fen Lin's shoulder a few times. Follow Jin Isai and leave. Wang Sheng accelerated a few steps and caught up with the two people ahead. He stood next to Jin Isai and asked, Cici, why don't you refuse directly? What he said is very strange. I doubt my father has any dealings with his father. Jin Isai said with a smile. If I arbitrarily, I am afraid that my father will suffer loss if I break the engagement. I want to ask clearly. Yes, I really need to ask clearly. Wang Sheng nodded. It seemed like Jin Isai was also planning to break off the engagement. Commitment. This will be easier to handle. Fen Lin put his hands in his pants pockets and continued wandering down the street. When the sky completely darkened, John Banxia called out to Fen Lin. Ask him where he is now. Fen Lin looked at the eye-catching buildings around him and said. After a while, John Banxia drove an old electric car and stopped in front of Fen Lin. Get in the car, my dad is waiting for you in the villa. John Banxia opened the car window and said to Fen Lin. Fen Lin remembered that John Yu was a good person and hoped to get some information from him. John Banxia took Fen Lin back to their previous villa. John Yu was in the yard waiting. Haha. Fen Lin, we meet again. Hello, uncle. Fen Lin nodded with a smile. You're welcome. I've already asked people to prepare dinner. We'll eat here today. John Yu put his arm around Fen Lin's shoulders and led him to the living room of the villa. John Banxia followed Fen Lin. The three of them were sitting on the couch in the living room. John Yu said with a smile. You know, your dad and I are good brothers. Fen Lin was a little surprised, but that was normal. His father almost never talked about him. The only person Fen Lin knew from his father was Man Changshen. Oh. I remember those days when I followed Brother Chen to show off. It seems like yesterday. Fen Lin observed John Yu carefully. His excited expression didn't seem fake. However, since Brother Chen got a wife, he has forgotten about me as a brother. John Yu smiled and shrugged, secretly saying that it was a pity. Uncle, do you know my mother? Fen Lin suddenly asked. I've seen her several times. She's a very lively woman with personality. Autumn. John Yu coughed awkwardly. Uncle. I have something to tell you first. My father has already found me a wife. Fen Lin looked at John Banxia, who was lying on the sofa playing with his mobile phone, and said with a smile, I don't think she is worthy of your daughter. John Banxia immediately pricked up his ears, but his eyes were still staring at the phone, showing that he didn't care. Chapter 422a. Favorite for urinating. What are you talking about? Your father and I are brothers. We agreed at the beginning. John Yu looked solemn and pointed at his daughter and said, Tell me, do you look down on her? Uncle, you don't talk nonsense. Fen Lin shook his head. The main reason is that my dad finds me too many wives. It's okay. Your dad and I made it very clear at the beginning that my daughter is the main wife. And your other concubines are to be treated as mine. My daughter's maid, John Yu said with a smile. After Fen Lin heard this, his expression was full of shame. How is it possible to let Zuroin and Jinguji Apkada take care of others without telling them? Now that the Zuroin's strength is low, his character can't give in. If he grows up, he will even take the initiative. Let's eat and chat while we eat. John Yu watched the servants bring the food and asked Fen Lin to sit down. Fen Lin decided to ask about the Zhang family during the meal. By the way, I still don't know the situation of the Zhang family. Uncle, are you an only child? Fen Lin took a bite and asked with a smile. No, I have a younger brother who was 3 years younger than me. His name is Zhang Zhu. Zhang Yu explained, my younger brother is different from me. He likes fighting and killing since he was a child. John Banksia next to him also said. 2. My uncle is now the deputy director of the Secret Legion's combat department. Awesome. Lin pretended to be surprised. But he didn't know how to ask the next question. Because he wasn't sure if Zhang Yu knew about Zhangzu. If he asked like this, Zhang Yu would definitely be able to guess. Let's wait until we see Zhangzu to talk about everything. Lin ate and drank well here, and Zhang Yu left. He asked Lin to rest here tonight and accompany him. John Banksia to Zhang's house tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day when Zhangzu King comes out of quarantine. Lin, you can sleep in the guest room on the first floor today. John Banksia opened a door of the villa and looked at Feng. Lin slightly. Thank you. Lin nodded with a smile. He was now more or less sure that John Banksia didn't know anything about his second uncle. He should be able to get a lot of information from John Banksia. Night, otherwise you will be dead, John Banksia reminded him just as he walked up the stairs. Don't worry, I'm not interested in you, Lin said it almost subconsciously, but suddenly felt that this sentence was too hurtful and added. I like to be passive and never take the initiative to attack women. Do you like it? Passive. As long as I take the initiative with you, everything is fine. John Banksia pressed her jade hand on the wood railing of the stairs and asked expressionlessly. This definitely won't work. I have a very complicated set of logical standards, Lin said with a smile, but you fit in perfectly. Hey. Slick, John Banksia snorted, but the corners of his mouth raised. Slightly. He walked quickly to the second floor. Lin also went to his room and lay down to rest. Early the next morning. Lin had left the room a long time ago and sat on the sofa to rest. Last night he only had a light sleep. In a foreign place, he was still alone and it was impossible to fall into a deep sleep. After a while, John Banksia came down from the second floor. She changed her clothes today and wore white stockings. She put on a black princess dress and was still wearing a rabbit print patch over her left eye. I want to ask you a question. Is there something wrong with your left eye? Lin stood up with a smile. No problem, John Banksia explained. Oh, it's just decoration. Lin smiled bitterly. In fact, she was a high school girl. It's not decoration, it's just that there's a terrifying power in my left eye. I usually don't want it to be exposed. John Banksia arrived at the first floor and looked at Lin lightly. Oh. That's it, Lin nodded. In fact, she was a high school girl, still in the age of fantasy. However, this is something that everyone goes through. Both men and women, in their youth, feel special. I feel like I'm a hero and that my own power can affect the world. Later, as I grew and matured, I saw the cruelty of the world. Only then did I fully understand myself. I am just a very common dust among all living beings. At 7:30 in the morning, John Banksia's hired servants prepared breakfast on time. Lin also began to trick him. Banksia, I know about your father. Tell me about your second uncle. My second uncle. John Banksia sat on the sofa, hugged the pillow and said, What are you doing? You have to say. I don't like him. When Lin heard this, his eyes gradually narrowed. Why don't you like him? His personality is irritable and he has no emotional intelligence. It doesn't matter what you find. Likes to use violence to solve it. John Banksia explained. Lin shook his head slightly. Impossible. If he didn't have emotional intelligence, how could he hide in the Secret Legion without being discovered for so long? This character with a bad temper and no emotional intelligence may be a show-off. I would like to ask, do your grandfather and father like your second uncle? Lin asked with a smile. In comparison, my grandfather likes me more, John Banksia said lightly. As for my father and my second uncle, they are all respectful in front of my grandfather. My grandfather treats you all equally. That's it. Lin smiled and nodded. It seemed like he could only go there and take a look. After the two had breakfast, John Banksia drove his old car and took Lin to John's house. The John family is located in a village on the outskirts of a mountain. In fact, everyone here is from the John family. According to John Banksia, the John family also has formations based on ancient ruins. At his grandfather's house, John Banksia drove the tram and took Lin to the top of the mountain. Lin saw many people from a distance, surrounding the top of the mountain. When the servants of the John family saw the John Banksia's family car, they immediately ran over. Get off the car. John Banksia looked at Lin. For the first time, everyone in the distance looked in the direction. Banksia is the little princess of the John family. In the crowd, Jin Isai narrowed her eyes at Lin. She had called yesterday to confirm. When his father found out that Lin had so many wives, he gave him the power to make decisions. His intention was definitely to refuse. But seeing this scene in front of me, I felt a little unhappy. Fen Lin rejected her, but stayed with John Banksia. Is it possible that she is not as good as this high school girl? Wang Chen's eyes were also a little surprised. It seemed that this person's identity was not simple. At the same time, another person walked out of the crowd. He was wearing a jacket and looked very elegant. Brother Fen Lin. Long time no see. Long Tina walked over with a smile and took the initiative to shake Fen Lin's hand. But John Banksia stood in front of Fen Lin. She knew everything and it was Long Tina who put Fen Lin in crisis. Okay, Fen Lin smiled and patted John Banksia on the shoulder, walked forward and looked at Long Tina. Brother, you have caused me so much misery. Is this how you repay me for your kindness? Chapter 423. Are you my granddaughter's fiancé? Brother Fen Lin, what are you talking about? Long Tina pretended to be confused. You don't admit it. It's okay, I don't care. After all, Johnny's family is almost dead, Fen Lin whispered in Long Tina's ear. We were like the Long family, and I can't wait to go back. Yu Tianzi's reaction. Long Tina smiled. Our Long family is still very confident in our own strength. Oh really? But you have drunk urine. Fen Lin's voice also increased. The people watching from a distance immediately looked over here. What? The dignified young master of the Long family has actually drunk that kind of thing. From what are you talking nonsense? Do you know the consequences of insulting me? Long Tinao's face became more and more gloomy. He did not expect that Fen Lin was not dead. On the contrary, Johnny's family was now killed into pieces. He had already guessed that people who helped this time must be members of the John family. Do you dare to say that you didn't drink? Do you dare to swear that your entire family will be killed? Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and smiled. Long Tinao's eyes were dull, but he smiled. I drank it. For a moment, everyone those looking there were extremely surprised. Does the dignified young master of the Long family have any special hobbies? But those things belong to my goddess. Long Tinao spread his arms and said indifferently. Everything that belongs to the goddess is sacred to me. Although everyone around him felt displeased. But this is people's preference and it is difficult to say something. I like you. Fen Lin showed a meaningful smile. John Banksia, who was next to him, left. And said, that's Fen Lin's. I remember he said that he got angry that day. What? Long Tinao's expression changed, and then he pretended to be calm. Who? Are you lying? Sorry, I talked too much. Fen Lin's expression froze, and after a few seconds of pause, he burst out laughing. John Banksia also laughed out loud, remembering that Long Tinao was still praising her at that time. Talk about urinating. Long Tinao looked at the backs of the two people and suddenly felt sick and wretched. Phew. Even wiped up what he had eaten in the morning. He looked at Fen Lin. No wonder the taste last time was so delicious. It turns out that it belongs to this brat. This reaction is normal. Psychological stimulation is sometimes more powerful than what is seen directly. For example, if you just finished a bowl of rice, pat your butt and walk away, nothing will happen. But he suddenly told him that there were 2 flies on his plate just now, but he was embarrassed to say it because he was eating very deliciously. Hearing this phrase may make you feel sick to your stomach. Fuck, this reaction. The Long family's young master actually drank as a woman couldn't help but cover her mouth. In fact, other people around him had already roughly guessed Long Tinao's reaction when they saw him. Wang Chen's face seemed a little heavy. This boy dared to provoke Long Tinao. Could it be that he is also the young master of a powerful force? Unknowingly, Wang Chen thought about what he said to him yesterday. Will he take revenge on himself? Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. This child cannot live. Now that he is dead, everyone will doubt Long Tinao. Thinking of this, he took out his mobile phone and immediately called his family owner. Ha ha ha. Everyone, welcome. At this moment, 2 people came out of the room. One of them is Zhang Yu. The other man was a middle-aged man with a beard on his chin, holding a beer in his hand and waving at everyone. He is my second uncle, Zhang Zhu, John Banksia whispered in Fen Lin's ear. Fen Lin looked at this man, dressed in an ordinary black jacket, giving off a somewhat gloomy and decadent appearance. But he seems like a handsome guy. Hello everyone, please come in. Zhang Yu also smiled and opened the door of the room. The room was empty except for the stairs leading down. Everyone greeted Zhang Yu warmly, but few people chatted with Zhang Zhu. Fen Lin did not move and continued to observe here. Suddenly, Zhang Zhu found someone looking at him and it turned out that he was looking at Fen Lin. He walked over with a smile and stood in front of Fen Lin. Are you Banksia's fiancé? Well, that's right. Fen Lin nodded slightly. It looks pretty good. Our Zhang family cares about appearance. We passed the first hurdle. Zhang Zhu drank the beer and then threw the can on the ground. He took out a box of cigarettes from his body and handed one to Fen Lin. Do you want one? I usually don't smoke. Fen Lin waved his hand with a smile. Don't I usually smoke? That's an interesting answer, isn't it addictive? Zhang Zhu put the cigarette in his mouth, took out a lighter and lit it. No, for me, many things are easy to control, Fen Lin explained with a smile. What's so good about smoking? It smells so bad. Zhang Banxia pursed her lips next to him. Fen Lin agreed, there was obviously something better than smoking. Second uncle, let's go see Grandpa first. Zhang Banxia looked at Fen Lin, as if he didn't want to talk to Zhang Zhu too much. Let's go together. Zhang Zhu held a cigarette in one hand and put an arm around Fen Lin's shoulder. Are you Fen Chen's son? Not bad. Fen Lin nodded. I heard that Fen Chen's son is a big shot in the Secret Legion. Zhang Zhu blew smoke at Fen Lin. So, your strength is up to par. Zhang Banxia, who was next to him, looked a little strange. Fen Lin, are you also a member of the Secret Legion? Used to be, but now you're retired. Fen Lin explained with a smile that Zhang Zhu in front of him was also considered a high-level official. You should know your identity. How old are you and have you already retired? Zhang Banxia pursed her lips, feeling that Fen Lin was not telling the truth. Several people walked down the stairs for about 100 meters and came to the top of a relatively primitive mountain. In the distance, on the flat grass, there are many tables and chairs. On the main seat, an old man with greasy hair sat, chatting and laughing with others. His face was wrinkled, but his appearance was very attractive. Especially those deep eyes. He must have been a handsome boy when he was young. This person is Zhang Zhu. Grandpa. Zhang Banxia immediately ran over. Fen Lin originally wanted to go, but Zhang Zhu put his arm around Fen Lin's shoulders and refused to let him go. Boy, what are you here for? Zhang Zhu asked with a smile when he saw Zhang Banxia leave. Fen Lin was surprised. Could it be that this person had already guessed it? His expression did not change at all and he said calmly, don't you know the answer? Hectares. Zhang Zhu smiled and patted Fen Lin on the shoulder, then walked out with a cigarette in his mouth. Fen Lin froze on the spot, lost in thought. Maybe, there's danger. Fen Lin, what are you doing standing? Zhang Yu came from a distance, grabbed Fen Lin's arm and walked over. People looking at Duxie realized that the relationship between Zhang Yu and this young man was very good. Everyone looked at Fen Lin strangely. Who was this person? There doesn't seem to be anyone like that among China's younger generation of favorites. Jin Isai, who was standing in the front row, smiled slightly and became more and more worried. Dad. This is Fen Lin. Zhang Yu pushed Fen Lin by the shoulders and pushed him in front of Zhang Zhu. Fen Lin. So you're my granddaughter's fiancé. Zhang Zhu's words surprised everyone around him. It turned out that they felt that Fen Lin was only chasing Zhang Banxia. It's not uncommon for these kinds of things to happen around him. For example, Wang Sheng often spends time with Jin Isai, and anyone with a discerning eye knows that he is chasing her. But Fen Lin, chapter 424. Because you're handsome, but Fen Lin is different. Zhang Zhu personally admitted that the marriage between the two is almost confirmed. Many people looked at Fen Lin and secretly took note of this person's appearance. No matter how humble his status was, from this moment on everything has changed. With the support of the Zhang family, his status has almost skyrocketed. Long Di now finally understood why the Zhang family would not hesitate to offend Emperor Yi to see Lin. It turns out that Fen Lin is Zhang Banxia's fiancé. When Wang Sheng saw this, he decided not to take action against Fen Lin for the time being. Now that he married Zhang Banxia, it was impossible for the Zhang family to allow him to have another woman. In this way, Jin Isai is safe. However, something unexpected happened to him. Jin Isai stood up with a smile on her face. Fen Lin, you're obviously my fiancé. Why are you getting involved with the Zhang family again? Damn. The people who were talking to each other suddenly stopped. What is the situation? Many people rubbed their eyes thinking they had seen it wrong. But the person in front of him was Jin Isai. No, Dark Crow's Jin Isai is actually this man's fiancé. Shit. Don't even stop me. I'm going to destroy this kid. Everyone around them couldn't believe it. Even the old man who followed Jin Isai couldn't believe it. A lady who has always been sensible would say something like this. Fen Lin's expression was a little confused. He didn't know what Jin Isai was doing. Then he asked calmly, Miss, are you sure you want to marry me? I'm not sure, but the fact that I am his fiancé should be true, right? Jin Isai asked calmly. Not bad, Fen Lin nodded. Seeing Fen Lin agree, everyone around them was in an uproar. This news is very exciting. It seems that Zhang Zuking is going to go crazy. Haha, Fen Lin, you are really good. Instead of being angry, Zhang Zuking laughed out loud. Senior, this has nothing to do with me. This marriage was decided by my father when I was a child. Fen Lin smiled bitterly. I don't blame you. You can take your two fiancés to talk. Don't bother us. Zhang Zuking smiled and waved his hand. The people around him thought that he had heard wrong. This was very wrong. When did it become so easy to talk to Zhang Zuking? This is your granddaughter. Wang Shen's eyes were sinister. He originally planned to let Feng Lin go, but now it seems that he will kill him. Then blame this matter on the Long family. It also prevents the Zhang family from retaliating against them. Fen Lin looked at Jin Isai with a calm expression. Let's have a nice chat. After saying that, Fen Lin walked deeper into the forest. Zhang Banxia immediately followed Fen Lin. Looking at the raised corners of Jin Isai's lips, she shook her head slightly at the white-haired old man next to her and followed him alone. Let's sit down and chat. Young people have their own topics. Zhang Zuking smiled and told everyone not to pay attention. Wang Sheng looked at Jin Isai's back and tried to remain calm. At this moment, a palm rested on his shoulder. Wang Sheng turned around and found that it was Long Tianao. The two people were still walking together. Fen Lin came to the hillside, leaned against a big tree, looked at Jin Isai and asked, Tell me, what is your purpose? I have no purpose, I just feel uncomfortable. You said that you have enough wives, why are you still marrying Zhang Banxia? But you asked me to break the engagement. Jin Isai smiled and spread his hands, although I have a good temper, I still have a temper. Sister Jin Isai, because you're older. Zhang Banxia said shamelessly. Is Fen Lin not like young people? Haha, Zhang Banxia, I have long heard that you are not good enough, and it turned out to be then when I saw you today. Jin Isai was not angry, but smiled. He looked at her. Fen Lin looked at Zhang Banxia and shook his head. It was better to resolve Jin Isai's matter now. Jin Isai, have you asked your father? Fen Lin asked. After asking, my father said he would let me decide, Jin Isai replied. This is great, so what do you mean? Fen Lin roughly guessed that she would definitely not agree. I want to ask you what you mean. Jin Isai asked with a smile. Didn't I say it before? I respect your opinion and prefer yourself. Fen Lin smiled and spread his hands, but if you don't agree, I won't force you. Jin Isai's eyes were half closed, staring. Looking at Fen Lin's face, I agree. Okay. Welcome to join my big family. Fen Lin immediately stepped forward and grabbed Jin Isai's hand. As my concubine, take good care of me and Banxia from now on. Zhang Banxia couldn't help but lowered her head, her pretty face blushed slightly. This stinky Fen Lin clearly hasn't said anything about marrying him yet. Jin Isai frowned, could he have guessed wrong? However, what is certain now is that Fen Lin is definitely not a simple person. Otherwise, Zhang Zuking would not have reacted this way. I don't want to get married right now, I hope you understand. Jin Isai said with a smile. Okay, just fulfill your duties as a wife. Fen Lin waved his hand indifferently. Sorry, I said before that our family is quite traditional. You can't do anything before we get married. Jin Isai shook her head with a smile. Did you do it on purpose? Then what do I want from you? Break the engagement. Fen Lin said coldly. This is what you said about breaking the engagement, Jin Isai said with a smile. Yes, I was the one who said to break off the engagement. Fen Lin always felt that this person was not simple, so it would be better to cut off the relationship as soon as possible. So, I don't agree, Jin Isai thought for a moment and said with a smile. Sister, what do you like about me? Can't I change it? Fen Lin was helpless. Why are all these women like this? I like your appearance, you're handsome. Jin Isai pointed to Fen Lin's face. I have to say that you have a very good aesthetic sense. Fen Lin was a little helpless, this really can't be changed. The few of them simply talked among themselves for a long time, without making any progress. After a while, Zhang Yu approached from a distance. Fen Lin, my dad asked you to come. Is it all over? Fen Lin followed. Fen Lin was very worried about Zhang Zu's words at this time. He decided to just speak clearly. More or less, those people simply came to express their condolences, send gifts, and follow their formalities. Zhang Yu said this and looked at Jin Isai who was following him. Of course, their main goal is to see if my dad has succeeded. A great success. That's it, Fen Lin nodded. When we reached the foot of the mountain, only an old man with white hair remained there. This person is a Jin Isai person. Senior, I will leave now. Jin Isai nodded towards Zhang Ziking with a smile. Well, take me to say hello to your father. Zhang Ziking stood up and showed a slight smile. Before leaving, Jin Isai glanced at Fen Lin and then left with the old man at his side. Zhang Yu, Banksia, you guys go down first, Fen Lin and I will talk alone. Zhang Ziking looked at the two people next to him. Grandpa. Let me say it first, I haven't agreed to marry him yet. Zhang Banksia blushed and ran away immediately. Haha. This girl is so shy. Zhang Yu followed Zhang Banksia with a smile. Now, only Fen Lin and Zhang Ziking are left here. In Wujianzhen, although I have known your name for a long time, I have never had a chance to speak. Zhang Ziking showed a slight smile. Mr. Death Doctor. Chapter 425 People are shallow creatures. Fen Lin also suppressed his smile when he heard this. Senior, I think you should know about my retirement, right? I know, on the night of your death, there was a traitor who stole the information from the supercomputer. Zhang Ziking nodded. The general bases have double protection. Although the Wuzhang master who guarded the computer at that time was transferred, there is still a second layer of alloy steel labyrinth. When Fen Lin said this, the muscles in his body began to tighten. No, the inside should work together and the outside should work together. Liunan can't escape alone. You mean there are undercover agents in the area? Base. Zhang Ziking said in a deep voice. Senior, what do you need to ask me? Fen Lin smiled. Fen Lin. What do you mean by this? Zhang Ziking's voice turned cold. If it weren't for Uncle Zhang Yu, he wouldn't have been so direct. Fen Lin was going to have a fight with Zhang Ziking first, to understand each other rightly and emotion. I think the senior should know that Uncle Zhang Yu and my father are as close as brothers, so I told them the purpose of coming here this time. Fen Lin said. He paused. The secret army discovered that this cooperating person inside and out is Zhang Zhu. What? Impossible. Zhang Ziking stood up suddenly. Absolutely impossible. My mission this time is to investigate Zhang Zhu. Fen Lin said calmly. I believe you have heard. Yes, the secret army has captured Tadisha at the front of Jialand. In fact, I have heard of this. Zhang Ziking nodded. These secrets are what he said. Several other things he said so far have been verified. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and continued. You can't lie specifically about this matter, right? This, Zhang Ziking was speechless. While the two were talking, Zhang Zhu walked over with a cigarette in his hand and a smile on his face. Dad, what are you talking about? Zhang Zhu walked over and asked with a smile. We were talking about you being an undercover agent. Zhang Ziking shouted harshly. Zhang Zhu. You are so brave. What's wrong with me? Zhang Zhu asked with a puzzled expression on his face. It has been previously investigated that you have a cooperative relationship with Jialan and that you provided comfort to the traitor in the dead night. Zhang Ziking shouted, pointing at Zhang Zhu. Ha ha ha. Dad, are you crazy? I cooperate with Jialan. Where is the evidence? Zhang Zhu asked with a smile. It's the Jiaworthly Earth Demon who said it himself. Fen Lin stood up and said. The evil spirit of the Nine Nethers. Do you believe everything he says? How many people from the Nine Nethers have I killed over the years? Maybe they are taking revenge on me. Zhang Zhu's face became more and more cold. What the hell? Damn. You've worked so hard for the Hidden Legion, but you actually doubted me. Fen Lin also froze, thinking, and then said with a smile. Don't worry, the supercomputer has been used to check everything about you. I think you will be innocent. That's good, otherwise I won't do it anymore, you idiot. Zhang Zhu spit on the ground and turned to leave. Senior, if nothing happens, I will leave. Fen Lin stood up and deliberately took out the supercalculator. It just made him think that the country had already started an investigation and the newspaper could not hold out for a while. Moment. This will confirm that he is cooperating with Jialand. I will send you away. Zhang Ziking stood up, his face solemn. Don't worry, if it is really him, I will definitely give an explanation to the country. Senior. Fen Lin I left here, feeling that from here to the export time is very long. He was afraid that Zhang Ziking would suddenly attack from behind. However, Fen Lin left without any problems. Evidently, he had no intention of acting. When he came out, Fen Lin called Zhang Banksia and told him that he suddenly had a mission and had to leave immediately. He refused to let Zhang Banksia pick him up and walked alone on the street. Fen Lin didn't know why, but he was more willing to believe Liu Nian and Zhang Zhu's words. Even if she is his enemy. Perhaps this proves that when a person is about to die, his words are also good. Inside the ruins of the Zhang family, Zhang Ziking sat at the stone table and drank tea. Zhang Zhu walked over with the bottle of beer and said with a smile, Dad. Have you been deceived? Don't you know that heaven knows and earth knows? Do you know that he knows? Zhang Zuking said lightly. Now even a simple earthly evil spirit knows about you. Just know. They have no proof anyway. Zhang Zu sat opposite Zhang Zuking and said with a smile, at least I have what I want. You are smarter than your brother, Zhang. You can't get caught up in your family, just don't let our Zhang family fall into trouble. Misfortune for thousands of years. Zhang Zuking took a sip of tea. Dad, human beings are superficial creatures. If a person has done bad things all his life and suddenly does something good, people will be grateful to him. Buddha said, if you put down your butcher knife, you will become a Buddha immediately. A person has done good things all his life, and suddenly he will do something good. If he does something bad, people will verbally criticize him and think he is going down the path of the devil. Even if he doesn't do bad things, he will still have to go through difficulties to become a Buddha. Zhang Zu drank the beer, flames erupted from his hands, and they vaporized. What kind of person are you going to be? Zhang Zuking asked calmly. All the truths in the world tell us that good and bad people are easily intimidated. Zhang Zu lightly touched the ring on his hand and added economically to his hand. So I will be 90% bad, and then one day, do another good deed to save the world. In this case, instead of resenting the Zhang family, people will be grateful. Hey, as long as I don't harm your brother or Banxia, it's up to you. Zhang Zuking shook his head helplessly. What's wrong with the Dark Order? How was Bian? I noticed before that Poseidon was chatting with you. They captured Zugusai's son, Zuchuan, and real humans began to study him. Zhang Zu looked at the sky and sighed. Dad, do you long for immortality? I long for your mother. Why do I feel like you are scolding me? Zhang Zu looked a little embarrassed. As long as you can resurrect your mother and make us both become immortals, I will be looking forward to it. Zhang Zuking smiled bitterly. The world is not divided into black and white and people are contradictory. Zhang Zu was a bad guy, but he has never hurt the lives of ordinary people. On the contrary, he saved countless people from fire and water. His impulse to kill them all was only directed at the ancient warriors. He is said to be a good person, but the dark cult and the real humans he cooperated with have destroyed countless lives. No matter what, Zhang Zu was Zhang Zuking's pride. He was proud to have the son who was at the peak of his intelligence and strength. Throughout China he felt that he could be compared to his son. There is only the Emperor of the Night, and W is the only one in the morning. On the other hand, his eldest son does not like to practice since he was little. She hangs out with a man named Feng all day. But I don't know what's going on, I just mixed it up and reached the divine orifice realm. You know, he was only in his 20s at the time. Zhang Zuking initially felt that Zhang Yu was also a top genius. But his heart is not in cultivation. Since the man named Feng Chen got married, Zhang Yu started managing the business at home. Now, in the past 20 years, it has only advanced to the first level. From the initial stage of spiritual awakening to the middle stage. On the contrary, his brother's strength was almost approaching his own, entering an atrocious state. P.S. I focused on introducing the Zhang family, which will be very useful later. End of this chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is completely available on Patreon. I invite you to subscribe and enjoy all the content.